Baylor forced to use a timeout. Bohannon puts some air on the throw, lofts it to Ebner, who goes airborne, hurtling into the end zone. Touchdown, Baylor.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Play fake. Clifford shuffling. Delivers. Wide open. Ducks it. Touchdown. Penn State. 49 yards.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Jones and E.J. Smith are with him. There he goes. It's touchdown. Big-time dagger by the Cardinals.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Low snap. Now Prescott throws. That's going to be caught in the end zone by Amari Cooper. Touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio on this somewhat damp Tuesday afternoon in Central Texas as we broadcast to you coast to coast, border to border on 365 Sports and YouTube. Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right, David Smoak, also Jack and Mackenzie Armstrong Sims in the studio today. And at any time, we're just going to warn you, it's going to sound like we're being attacked. Not in a negative like way that's violence, but there's a jackhammer and a bunch of equipment right out in front of our studios here on Elm and MLK, and they are doing some damage to the asphalt. So that could come at any time, but we're going to be okay. If we start to tremble a little bit, it could even be that they have this big, huge jackhammer working on plumbing or whatever it might be in the street. Why wouldn't they do that before they paved it?
Well, I think this is all with the bridge. There's stuff that they're going to do underground that's going to take even longer than the bridge. So This is going to be a while, guys.
No, I love the way that they timed it out to where right when they were about to get the most traffic, they decided to basically rework every single road, because not only is it right next to us, it's downtown. There's lanes shut off left and right. It's right in front of the stadium. It's like this entire area from the stadium to downtown that's got traffic cones and all that. But, yeah, just part of the deal. So there's a jackhammer outside. You may or may not hear it. And if we hadn't mentioned it, you probably wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah, I know, and so I shouldn't have even brought it up. But many of you are already coming at us. Thank you very much. Dan Tipton, 365 Sports. It's after 3 p.m. If they are government contractors, they're going to be gone for the day.
Well, it started raining. I was expecting them to scatter quickly, but no, they're still out there. So they're fighting through the rain, which is good to see.
All right, there's a few more. In fact, Scotty B, I thought another name of USC football might be Alex Grinch, who's the defensive coordinator, of course, at Oklahoma. Many of you are ready for the show. Ryan Abraham, USCFootball.com, is going to join us in about 10 or 12 minutes on USC the day after. Travis Johnson covers Penn State. He'll join us today. Mac Rhodes today, Baylor's Director of Athletics. Craig has his Off the Radar. Paul has his Top 5. We'll have college and pro football. David Helton on the Cowboys at 4. John McClain, Hall of Famer, at 5:30. So, hey, if this Texas and Oklahoma, whenever they decide to exit, but let's say they exited in June of 2023, there is at least a proposal that has been discussed that if they leave June 30th of 2023, which is kind of the timeline, that Brigham Young and then the others would come in, Houston, UCF, obviously Cincinnati, and Brigham Young would come in the next day. That if, in fact, Texas and Oklahoma were to end up paying the exit fees for the last 2 years, then that exit fee money would go straight to the remaining 8 schools. And if that's the case, if this is just a discussion, if that is the case, there is a chance, if that money's enough, that the 4 incoming schools would not have just 50% shares in their first year or two, because they want them all in inclusive immediately if the TV deal can be extended. Just a thought that is on the table and being discussed within the offices of the Big 12.
Why is that? Because they would have had so much money from the buyout, they don't really worry about the rest of it?
Yeah, the buyout would be for at least, almost a full year or two with 2 schools. And so if that is the case, that is the case, there is a chance. And, of course, that would be great that you don't have to do the 50% share. The 50% shares now for the incoming schools will be because the Big 12 is going to help them with exit fees. And if they do that, they're going to want that back in some way. It's like not a loan, and yet again it is. And so that's just something else that's on the table as they move forward on Big 12 expansion and changes. Let's see here. Craig, you were very frustrated with this. I saw this story that Ross Dellinger, NCAA moving closer to an immediate expansion of the signing class limit. What in the world? We have now the transfer portal, which is open free agency. We have the NIL, where people get paid now, and probably they earned that a long time ago. And we had that mulligan year because of COVID. It seems like there's almost been 2 of those, and now they're going to allow teams for 1 year to have 32, perhaps, in a signing class, because to protect the teams from the transfer portal, that they lose 7 players on average per team.
I understand it, but I think this is just something that, I almost feel like they're just tinkering with stuff to tinker with stuff. Am I the only one that feels that way? There's always a change. Like, every couple of weeks, it seems like there's some rule being tweaked or some new thing. I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I just see this. I think the person this hurts the most is the schools that are in the middle, like the TCUs and the Baylors. Because if you're one of these big schools, we can sign even more players now. Mm-hmm. So now 4-stars or players who may typically land at a Texas Tech or end up at a Minnesota rather than an Ohio State or a Texas, they're going to end up at Ohio State and Texas again. And then, yeah, of course, like if they don't, they got to make their way or they're going to be out of there. But that's just more people in the transfer portal. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what's wrong with the signing limit. I mean, everybody got an extra year. Now you're wanting to throw more players into the mix. And this is only going to benefit the big schools initially. And then it will ultimately benefit the smaller schools like the SMUs, who are already thriving off of the transfer portal. I mean, they're going to be in that transfer portal in a major way every single year. Now they're going to have even more options most likely. And I'm sure there's a very simple way of why this is a good idea and everything, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there wasn't really anything wrong with the signing class limits as it was. 31, that's just a lot of players, man. Like that's 300 players in the Big 12 alone.
That is over a third of your roster that you could have. Yeah.
And so now Ohio State's going to sign 5 extra guys or 7 extra guys or 8 extra guys that otherwise would have been at another school playing earlier most likely. And I get it, like competition and all of that. Somebody will slip through the cracks and be like number 32 that signed that ends up being a top 10 player for you. But at the same time, I just think it's going to even more backload that transfer portal because you're going to have more guys that aren't seeing the field early on.
Well, and the other thing that's going to happen, you mentioned the big schools. Well, Alabama's they're going to have 7 transfers a year easily. Guys who realize that, Nick Saban's not for them and they're not going to make it at Alabama and that's it. Or guys that, Nick Saban says, you should go in the portal. So that means that's more like now they have 32 people this year. I'm hoping this isn't one of those. This is a 1-year only thing. And then after this, because it worked out so well before and the realities of the transfer portal and yada, yada, yada. And we have 32 people in the signing class every year.
Yeah, it just seems like Craig says it's like they tinker with it. This is good news. I think now that college athletes pretty much, after probably being, the word is not abused, but surely not getting perhaps what they deserved or earned, I think they're getting pretty much everything you could imagine. Next thing you know, you get a free car, and that's part of an NIL deal. Or, by the way, we're also going to pay for your apartment complex or wherever you live, and we'll put down the down payment on a house next to the campus. I'm never against someone getting whatever they can get. I'm never against that. But it's like there's already been almost what seems to me 2 years of mulligans on scholarships.
There has been. There absolutely has been.
Yeah.
There's been no consequence, and not that there should be a consequence because it's not like the players can do anything about that. But, yeah, they've just okay, that's fair game now. Okay, that's fair game now. Okay, that's fair game now. Okay, that's – what have they said no to? What rule has come across the table where they're like, no, other than just tapping the brakes on the playoffs? Now, here's what I need to know what the actual rule is going to be. Well, because if it's simply you can sign 35 guys, I hate that rule. Now, if it's the other option that has been thrown out there of if you lose 5 players to the portal, that's 5 more scholarships you can sign, that makes a lot more sense. They go that direction, I can be far more understanding of that, although you're not penalizing teams who have multiple players going to the transfer portal. So, if you're a bad coach, and, let's just say your coach is not great with your players or whatever, and you have a bunch of dudes that go to the transfer portal year after year after year, you just keep grabbing scholarships. There should be some consequence for not doing your job, for not landing the guys initially. You should have a couple of mulligans, but if you lose 15 players to the transfer portal like we've seen some schools do, then there's a much bigger problem than replacing your scholarships if you're losing that many. You know what I mean? Now, if it's just automatically everybody gets 25, 35, whatever, then I don't like that because I don't see how that benefits anybody but the bigger schools.
What if you're a school that only loses 2? And you get 2 scholarships. You get just 2? You're not going to get?
No, you get 2 scholarships back if they go that way.
You get up to 7. So if you got 15, it's not if you lose 15, you get 15. You get up to 7. Right. So at least there's some sort of cap.
Maybe Matt can give us some insight on that and when we have him on today at 4:20. We have Ryan Abraham is going to join us in the next segment, covers USC like a blanket on the day after the firing of their head coach, Clay Helton.
I just think it further motivates guys to want to transfer, and, maybe, I don't know. I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill here because there does need to be some recouping of scholarships. But, yeah, I'm just wondering what's going to be the thing that they finally say, no, we're not going to make that change because it's been nothing but change for the last 2 years. So maybe this is a good one, but it's man, are we going to settle in somewhere?
My biggest question would be, out of 2022 and into 2023, what are we looking at now? What is it? Yeah. Because 2023 would be post-COVID mulligan years and all that and these transfer things. So 2023, what are we realistically looking at? 25 again? Or does something happen in the next 2 years where they're like, we know it's not going to be 32, but what if it was 29?
Yeah, I know that just because it's always been that way is not always means it was right. But college football kind of survived a long, long time with a lot of the rules that even some of them antiquated. But the scholarship thing, is that really going to help, let's say, Memphis? Does this help, or is that just another way to feed the Blue Bloods? The Blue Bloods, and that's kind of, there's got to be a reason behind it. We'll ask Mac about it.
Yeah.
And if it feeds everybody, good. Okay, that's fine, as long as it's equal opportunity feeding.
Yeah, because it is not finalized. It is like, hey, they might go the compromise route. They might go the one angle of like, hey, you just automatically get this number no matter what. Or they might go the compromise of you get up to 7, that cap or whatever. So, yeah, I'll be...
That's kind of like the NFL with losing free agents. You get extra,
hey, let's be more like the NFL, right? Everything they're doing is being more like the NFL, which I don't know that I'm necessarily a fan of. But, like I said, not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. It's just like, oh, here's more change and just trying to wrap your head around it.
Cincy Chili, can we start now by saying Luke Fickell is not leaving for USC? We appreciate that. Also,
I don't know that, though.
Cheeto Mika, well, I don't either. We'll talk to Ryan Abraham. UCF is coming to the Big 12 like a third monkey online Noah's Ark. They'll fight their way to the top faster than you can imagine. Scott LaRock, the AP, whatever poll you want to talk about. Do you all agree with the AP general thoughts? We kind of discussed a little bit of that. Not much. I'm not a big polls guy anymore. I mean, we mentioned those who move up or those who, Ohio State lost and got really kind of beat up a little bit at home. It wasn't a large, point spread loss. They're protected. Clemson's protected now. They can't afford another one. And I'm not saying Ohio State should drop too much. They were, 3? They lose to 12. They're 9. That's about where they should be.
There's 4 2-0 teams behind them in Penn State, Florida, Notre Dame, UCLA. There's a bunch of others as well, Virginia Tech, Coastal Carolina. You got to give the Buckeyes the benefit of the doubt, but they are one of those teams that's going to get more of the benefit of the doubt than others. If that had been a TCU that lost that game, they're easily probably in the 20s. I think that's fair to say. I mean, based on just the history of watching the polls, some fall farther than others. But with Ohio State, they did make a valiant effort in that game. They did nearly come back. That was a tough game against Oregon. Now, granted, it was at their place. But you know what? They've got questions to figure out. So it doesn't really matter where they are right now. If they don't fix some things on defense or, have better play, overall quarterback, various things, then it's not going to really matter where they are in week 2.
John Watts, with 1,000 players in the portal that were not picked up, this will allow about 910 of them to land somewhere. And that is a possibility.
Yeah,
From our web,
sense.
Guys, they're still going to have the 85-man scholarship limit. It's not like they're going to have 114 players on scholarship just because there's an opportunity to replace some that hit the transfer portal. We got a break, right, Paul? Ryan Abraham, USCFootball.com will join us next. What is it the day after Clay Helton was fired? And this is Sikkim 365 Radio. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, they have the best, I'm telling you, the cigars that are the elite name brand cigars around the world, not just the country, the world. Cohiba, Patron, Romeo and Julieta, Ashton, Macanudo, Artur Fuente. If you love cigars, they have a 48-foot walk-in humidor. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne run the store and know the cigar business. They're cigar aficionados. And there's also maybe, just like anything else in a business, a product that might start to be a fast-rising product based on the popularity. They can help you with that. And in fact, they themselves, if they hear about a cigar that's fast-rising up the charts, they will, in fact, they'll check it themselves and then give you an overview and maybe recommend something for you. And then on top of that, they'll grind right in front of you fresh coffee beans. Cowboy is the favorite, and then also CBD products. For example, if you struggle at night to sometimes fall asleep, Vitadreams can help you. They're gummies. You take a little nibble, and sometimes, and most of the time, it allows you to kind of relax. Next thing you know, you're asleep, and you do save yourself an extra 30, 45 minutes or an hour of sleep when you do fall asleep. Vitadreams, gummies, CBD product, and cigars, and fresh roasted coffee beans if you want them at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center, Valley Mills in Waco.
Jeep Adventure Days are going on now at Allen Samuels. Come see the 2021 Grand Cherokee Laredo, the most awarded SUV ever, with total values of $3,250. Beautiful design, elegant style, Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo at Allen Samuels, your home for the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
It's football season, sports bettors, and BetUS.com has your NFL and college football live betting lines up for their 27th year. Why BetUS.com? Well, they're the 3-decade leader, and you can join now for a 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 with cash, or a 200% bonus on crypto with SICK'EM200. The 3-decade leader with action on every sport across the world. We can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game at BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Ryan Abraham, USC football. And what a day it was yesterday with the firing of Clay Helton. And Ryan Abraham covers the Trojans like a blanket. They have had the AD Mike Bone on the show. Obviously, a list of the candidates, a lot of speculation. This is a guy that will know quite a bit. Ryan Abraham joins us on Sick'em 365 Radio. Ryan, it appeared just from our perspective, the chat room and all the various calls or texts that we received from around the country, USC fans were thrilled yesterday. I hate that because you hate to see someone fired, but it was time, obviously. What has been? Has it been overwhelmingly a positive thing?
It definitely has. I mean, this has been a long time coming, and it's not – I don't blame Clay Helton. He is a really nice guy. He's a genuine person. He was just hired for a job that he really wasn't qualified for. And then you had the bungling administration that extended him when he didn't deserve an extension, and it made it really impossible for the new athletic director, Mike Bone, to come in and fire him right away like he had planned. So this was a long time coming, and they built a lot of infrastructure and resources around the football program trying to help Clay Helton, and they knew that he needed to make some sort of big run this year for him to keep his job. But losing to Stanford in the way they did in a Coliseum Saturday night that was really excited, they did a lot, and they turned the lights out. The students were into it, and then he just fell flat on their face, and they were booing Clay Helton at halftime. And I think the administration knew that no way they were going to get people in the Coliseum the rest of the year. if Clay Helton, who would obviously be a dead man walking, would come back. So they pulled it. They pulled the trigger, made the move, second game of the season, which is kind of strange. But for USC, there's always something going on at USC. You can't ever be surprised.
Ryan, Mike Bohn is the first real athletic director they've had in a while, and I'm not trying to disparage Pat Hayden or Mike Garrett or Lynn Swann as professionals in their other life, but they're the ex-player types that come in and not really an athletic director. Mike Bohn is a real athletic director. How much has that changed before even the firing of Clay Helton, the direction of the athletic department at USC?
Yeah, you nailed it. And you're probably even too nice. I mean, I don't know if Lynn Swann was even good in his professional career, but those Swann and Hayden were probably the two. Not probably. They were the two worst athletic directors in USC history. And it's just the stuff that they did really put the program back. And you're right. They needed a real athletic director, someone that would come from the outside that knows how college football works and college athletics work. Because it was just kind of an internal thing for 20, 30 years there at USC. It was just strange. So it was good. I think he's fixed a lot of the problems that were around the program. There was certainly a lot of low-hanging fruit. And now it's, the main job, as you know, is going to be to hire the head football coach. So I think it's been great. He's hit a lot of singles, I think. He's done a lot of good things around the program, but this is where you can hit the home run, where you can make that football hire. The important thing was making a change, what they've done, and now who do you get? That's what everyone's going to be looking for. But there's a lot more optimism with Mike Bohn as the athletic director than Lynn Swann or Pat Hayden ever had.
Right, it's got to be a weird spot for the players because, I'm sure a lot of them love Clay Helton. We've heard so much about what a nice guy he is, but at the same time, there was so much chatter that they knew going in that they had to win to not only be winners, but also to preserve his job. So what has been the reaction from the USC player side of things as best you understand it?
Yeah, just from seeing, I'm actually on my way in the car to practice right now. We're going to get to talk to some of the players and the new interim head coach, Dante Williams. The good thing, Dante Williams is an extremely popular coach on the staff. He's recruited just about everyone there. If it wasn't at USC, he recruited these guys when he was up at Oregon. He's been multiple time Pac-12 recruiter of the year. Someone that really relates to the players. So I think there was definitely some tears in that locker room with Clay Helton no longer being around. But I think they knew that you have to win. It's sort of like, your favorite uncle that's moving away. Is it going to be the best thing for the football program? Yes, but they're still going to miss them. I think it's okay to be sad, but then understand that this was the right move for the football program to go forward. So, yeah, I think there's some sadness there, but for the most part, I think the players knew, he just wasn't getting the job done.
If I threw out the names, and I know that it's way early, but you see names, Oregon's Mario Cristobal coming off the huge win against Ohio State. James Franklin, who today said he would address it with his leadership council. He hates distractions. Luke Fickell, because of the connection to your AD. Matt Campbell, even though Fickell's kind of denied it. Of course, coaches do that, and most of the time, you don't know if you can trust them or not. That's not to say they're not interested, but they can pretty much almost get whoever they want. Is that correct?
I don't know about that. But there is definitely a hierarchy in college football, and they would be above even a program like Oregon. It doesn't matter that Oregon had more success recently; it's still the brand. You see these college football brands; it's there. And I don't know if USC would go after Mario Cristobal. There's been some bad blood between USC and Oregon lately, but I guess that's one way to deliver a knockout blow to your opponent if you wanted to do that. Luke Fickell's the obvious one because Mike Bohn's already hired him once. He was the one that brought him in when he was at the University of Cincinnati. He's had great success there. Would you be able to lure him out of Ohio, where he's coached and knows everybody there in Ohio football? But like a James Franklin would certainly be an interesting one. There's a lot of interesting names at the top, but I think the one thing you have to do if you're doing this search is actually talk to these people. Before USC just hired someone that was familiar, that was around them, they wouldn't interview people. Now go out there and, is Matt Campbell and James Franklin? Maybe they're not, but it's worth a shot. And I think they have the resources that if you are interested and they're sort of on the fence, you can kind of throw everything in the kitchen sink at them and figure out if they want to come to Los Angeles or not.
What's been the biggest problem with their coach hiring? Outside of athletic directors, obviously, but outside of Pete Carroll, they haven't hit home runs in the last 20, 30 years.
No, you got to look to the top. And it's really been that they've had this athletic department that just wanted to kind of keep control of things. And it wasn't even whoever the athletic directors were. Pete Carroll ran the department. And that's, if you're Nick Saban, if you're Dabo Swinney, the athletic director isn't telling you hey, you can't spend money on this resource. Like they're running the show. And Pete Carroll did that because he was winning. And I think the athletic department was like, we want to win, but we don't want the football coach having this much power. Let's try to get people that are just going to be happy to be there, and we'll give them a chance, and we're not really going to go out of our family. They know how we do things. And that's just a recipe for disaster. You have to go outside, bring someone in that's proven, that knows what they're doing. And that they just hadn't done that for the last few coaching hires. So even, when they screwed up the Ed Orgeron thing, it would have been better to keep Ed Orgeron than to bring in Steve Sarkisian, who lasted a year and a half at USC before he flamed out. So this is a real chance. And I think USC fans have been waiting for some kind of home run hire. So I think it puts some pressure on Mike Bowen, but that's why he gets paid the big bucks. If you're going to be the athletic director of a place like this, the main thing you got to do is hire a football coach.
Well, Orgeron might be available here one of these days pretty soon, and obviously, and it will. The Lane Kiffin thing, we know how that ended. There's no possibility that they would they talk to him?
Other administrations at USC probably would have. I mean, they brought John Robinson back before. Right. I think in this case, you can't do it. I think the athletic department has heard everything, all the complaints from the USC fans about you need to fire this guy, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they could go there and hire someone that they've already flamed out on. They need to start fresh and bring someone new. And I think Kiffin's in a good spot at Ole Miss. Stark's in a good spot at Texas right now. So, I don't think it would even be possible to get those retreads back. But, that USC fans are sort of conditioned to that because that's what they've seen for the last 15 years.
What about recruiting? Obviously, that's one of the things that's slipped, although they can usually get pretty much what they want. But they've lost some quarterbacks, have left California to go way east. They haven't been able to get quite the same. What about those who have already committed for the class of 2022? What was their reaction to this?
Yeah, so they got a couple 5-star commits right now and some high 4-stars, and they were all positive, as far as going forward. Dante Williams being the interim head coach certainly helps because he's the best recruiter on the staff, and he's the one that has the best relationships with all of these players. But the main thing is going to be, who do you hire as the next head coach? That's when you're going to find out if these players like it or not. There's going to be guys on the team that transfer out because they love Clay Helton or whatever assistant coach they were close with got fired. But there's going to be guys that are happy because they didn't really like the assistant coach and they're buried on the depth chart and they didn't think they should be. So there's always going to be attrition, especially with the transfer portal. But if we're recruiting, it's going to really come down to who they hire as a head coach. And the early signing period in December now really makes this hire important. And you have to do it faster than you normally would. Before you could wait. You hire a coach in late December now, like you're already behind one recruiting class. So getting this extra time in, I think is going to help whoever the next head coach is to hit the recruiting trail hard.
I know that being a nice guy doesn't always mean much, but the fact Clay Helton, everyone you hear seems to be a nice guy. I know that the offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell, liked him quite a bit. That's the guy that hired him. What is right now the status of Graham Harrell, at least for now?
Yeah, it's funny. His name would have come up as being the interim head coach. People have talked about that before, and he wasn't. And so I think part of the problem is that just the offense has not been as effective. It was good in year one, and it just hasn't been for years. And so they're not really sure. And maybe there was some, you had a lot of offensive coaches there. Maybe everyone was meddling in the offense. Clay Helton was an offensive coach. It's hard to say. It might look different now with Dante Williams as the head coach, but the offense just wasn't putting up points. So I think there was a lot of talk about Graham Harrell getting head coaching jobs and other things. We haven't heard much of that lately. And if you're not performing as your unit, then I think that's the reason why. So this might be a great opportunity for Graham Harrell too, if there was anything that was sort of throttling his offense, with Clay Helton being there, maybe Dante Williams takes that off and lets him do whatever he wants. And they score a bunch of points. So it'll be an interesting opportunity these last 10 games for Graham Harrell as well.
Ryan, how many years does Graham have left on his contract? Do you know?
I don't know that. I don't think it was a super long-term deal. But, usually they're only a year or two along. Right. So I don't think having something like, a contract for an offensive coordinator is going to be that, inhibiting as far as if he wanted to get another job or they were going to try to get rid of him.
Right, yeah. Being a Texas legend, obviously the star at Tech and a high school star as well. Hey, thanks for your time, man. Good luck chasing down everything. I know you'll be right on top of it. Hopefully have you down the road a little bit as well. Thanks for your time on a busy day, Ryan.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Ryan Abraham, USCfootball.com. Yeah, I saw the list of those who pretty much can get whatever they want. I saw there's a list of 6 schools, I believe. I can't remember the writer. It said it might have been Joe Klatt, actually, the broadcaster for Fox. The 6 schools of where if they are open, you get pretty much anyone you want. Now, some of them are schools that have been struggling. In fact, USC is one of them, right? Texas is one of them, right? Yet they still seem to pretty much get not everybody they want, but they're still at that level. And now you have that job open. Who would be the other ones? Alabama, Ohio State. I would think Oklahoma.
Yeah, his top 5 were quizzes. His quick top of mind ranking was the best job in college football. 1 Texas, 2 Alabama, 3 USC, 4 Ohio State, 5 Georgia. And you could shoot holes maybe in number 1 being Texas and the fact that, it's really hard for them it's really hard for anybody to find a coach, but it's really hard. It's been really hard there.
They've had one that really took them to a certain level since Akers was good. But you think about it, you have Darryl Royal, Fred Akers, and he didn't win enough, even though he won a lot. And then it took all the way till Mac Brown, right? And then that star faded. And now they've been through Charlie Strong and Tom Herman, and now they have Sarkisian. It is always thought of as that number 1 or whatever, and yet, even with all of what they have, it's not always just that easy to do. Look where they are. And again, it's just the first year for Steve Sarkisian, so we'll see what happens with that. All right, who do you think, Paul? Who if you were to say now, who you think gets that job? Craig, who would you think?
Bama. I would want. If Bama was open.
No, I'm talking about USC's job.
Oh, USC's job?
Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be Luke Fickell. I mean, and it's nothing, and I'm not trying to freak out the Cincinnati people. I want him to stay at Cincinnati because I want good coaches coming into the Big 12 Conference. But most of the time you see it, athletic directors hire people that they know and that they like and that they're comfortable with, and Luke Fickell is that for Mike Bohn. I mean, it happens all over the place. The most recent one I'll give you, and I mentioned it yesterday, the new AD at Tennessee is Danny White from UCF. Who did he bring with him?
Josh Heupel. Yeah.
So,
Joe Brady's name's getting a lot of play today on the chat room from our listeners of 365 Sports. Huh.
Well, yeah, because he's going to be a great head coach one day. At least on paper, he appears like he's going to be one of the bright young coaches, and I've seen his name thrown out a lot with gigs that are coming open because I guess there's just this feeling that it's about time for him to start to make that happen and start to run a program of his own. And we know what he did, obviously at LSU, but if you're looking for somebody new, somebody fresh, somebody young, somebody innovative, somebody, that's going to have a good offense, then, yeah, he's right up your alley. So not surprised at all to see his name being thrown about. I mean, we hear the same names all the time. So, it's about time for a little bit of an injection of new blood, and Joe Brady would certainly be that. I don't know who USC is going to be. I mean, Luke Fickell seems like an obvious choice, but I don't know all the stuff that Cincinnati fans know, so I have no idea. But, he seems like a pretty obvious choice as far as I'm concerned, although, there's been that constant pull of James Franklin. So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Franklin, even though he's established there at Penn State. It hasn't been all roses there, and I still don't have an answer on why he's still connected to the USC job over and over and over again. So there's got to be something there. If there's no backing to it, he didn't go there. I haven't seen any explanation for why that's been such a long-standing rumor, because I swear I've been hearing it for 3 or 4 years now at this point, and yet he's still remained at Penn State this entire time. There must be something to that.
He's only been in the Pac-12 once, and they weren't even the Pac-12 then. It was the Washington State tight ends coach.
Okay, yeah, so I don't know why there's that. I mean,
for a year.
Outside of just that's who USC fans have wanted for a long time. And I understand that. But because that's been so consistent, I mean, I feel like there's got to be some smoke there for that to continue as long as it has. So, yeah, James Franklin and Luke Fickell would be my top two, as with no insight whatsoever, but just reading the tea leaves.
All right, 254-339-1122, 3:37 is the time. We're also going to hear In fact, in a moment, a writer who covers Penn State, they have Auburn this week, and of course, James Franklin's name pops up on that as well. Before we take the break, though, did anybody listen or watch? Norm Macdonald passed away today. The age of 61 years old, had been battling cancer privately for 9 years, never said a word, and he passed away. And I know, Paul, being a comedian, you love stand-up comedy, that this got you, and you didn't even know about it.
I didn't know, and he was the best SNL Weekend Update anchor that's ever lived or will ever live, and they've had some great ones. But he was so good and so different and so fearless on that show. Plus, his stand-up was always just brilliant in its simplicity, and that's what Norm was great about. A friend of mine today said Norm knew that the simpler the premise, the better the joke, and he was so great. I encourage you to get on YouTube and watch any of his late-night appearances with Conan, anything he's ever done, and anything he did with Letterman, all great stuff and all hilarious.
He broke down at the end of a stand-up thing when Letterman's last show. Yeah. I think he was a part of it as a young guy. That's 25 years ago, and he kind of got emotional. Hey, I saw that up on my Twitter timeline.
Yeah, it's very weird because literally a week ago I was watching Norm Macdonald clips over and over and over again. The genteel joke he had with Jerry Seinfeld that totally caught Seinfeld off guard and was a total flipping of a joke on its head, despite his co-host being an annoying side piece to that. But him popping Jerry with the genteel joke was hilarious on his show. And I watched that just the other day, and I watched a chop up of Best of Weekend Update and all of his O.J. Simpson jokes and how he just kept hammering home. O.J. did it in every way, shape, or form, but doing it in a funny way in the heat of the moment, not 20 years later, as it was going on. And he was one of a kind, man. There's no one like him. And I'm really sad about it. There's not a lot of people that I pop for, but Norm Macdonald was one of those people because he was just realish as S. He was funny as all get out, and he was just a genius. So, not everybody got it, but I got it, and I loved it. And, just to me, for him to have had cancer or been battling cancer for as long as he was and for not really a soul to have known about it, that to me is Norm Macdonald. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care about the attention. Obviously, you're a comedian, you like some attention, but the fact that he didn't, pull I'm going to go on social media and just, talk and get all the sympathy and people need to do that. And I understand that, but he's so not like that. And so it makes so much sense that he just didn't even say anything about it. You know what I mean?
He tweeted about golf more than Jason Sobel. That's what it was. His Tiger Woods bit is one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. And it's so brilliant. I did mention to Armstrong and Jack when we were talking about it, the OJ joke that I remember the most is the weekend after OJ was acquitted, the top story on Weekend Update was, "This just in, murder is legal in the state of California."
Yeah.
Oh, man, he rode OJ so hard.
That's why he got fired.
Oh, I know. Yeah, to the point of, getting fired. But, man, it was funny.
All right. We will come back and get a little look-see at Penn State as they play Auburn this week. James Franklin's name came up immediately yesterday when the news on Clay Helton came out. We'll do all of that and much more. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. They had the Labor Day savings event, and they're continuing that all month long, even though Labor Day has come and gone. You can hit the road again in a new car or truck at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They have a lot of great deals going on right now, and of course, customer service is number one for them. They are willing to bring the test drive to you. Of course, you can show up at the dealership as well, but regardless of what you do, you got a great variety of vehicles and a lot of great pricing as well. They have the Labor Day month savings going on all month long, as I mentioned, and right now that includes premium pre-owned cars and trucks and a boatload of them. Each pre-owned vehicle goes through a 172-point inspection before ever hitting the lot over at Richard Carr, and with dozens of lenders, they say yes when others say no, as 100% credit approval is always their goal. If they don't have the right model of car or truck that you're looking for, well, they will put you first in line for the many varieties of cars and trucks that will be coming their way very soon. So get your name on their priority list right now to get the perfect vehicle for you as soon as they arrive. But Maybe you don't really have an idea of what you're looking for. Well, they do have a lot of options, and that includes the Cadillacs, the ultimate American luxury vehicle with sophisticated looks and powerful and exhilarating drive. At Richard Carr Cadillac, they will find the right caddy for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan or any of the other options like the XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs in the style and size to fit your lifestyle. And if they don't have what you're looking for, again, they've got priority service. They'll put you in line. So when what you are looking for arrives, it's yours. Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac, they're all about the customer service, and they're all about helping you out in any way possible. So again, if you want to come over and take a test drive at the dealership, you're good to go. They'll show you around, show you all the great deals. But if for whatever reason in this pandemic era you can't get out, give them a call. They'll set up the test drive and bring the vehicle over to you. If you live in the Waco area, they're your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. It's the yellow tag Labor Day savings all month at Richard Carr. They are owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work, and Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch. Installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Travis Johnson writes for the Associated Press, covers Penn State, but covers much more. And Travis, I have you on. We have you, Paul and Craig as well, about Penn State, Auburn, and James Franklin. But I saw your note. We were just talking about the passing of Norm Macdonald, and you had yourself a note on your Twitter feed as well.
Yeah. I think it's a terrible loss. I mean, it's just my opinion, but Norm was one of my favorite comedians, and I think it says a lot. I'm 35. And, I have a bunch of text message threads with a couple of different groups of friends. And for about the last 2 hours, they've just been bombarded with links to Norm bits and funny late night appearances. So, I think he definitely spoke to a lot of us.
All right. So you saw what happened yesterday. How much has it been, as James Franklin doesn't want it to be, a distraction that USC has an opening for a head coach?
Yeah, I figured that would come up today at his press conference, and it did. I don't know how many questions it took, but, he diffused it pretty quickly and said that, it's not something that he's really going to talk about. I know he has come out in the past and said that, he would always address these things with his players. And I know that since some stories were published today, he did make a note of that at the press conference, that he would be talking to his team about the situation and about his name coming up. We probably won't be privy to that message, at least for a little while, but that's how he's kind of dealing with it right now. And I think, when you have the success that he's had, I think, his name's going to continue to come up. He's a young guy still. He's a great recruiter. He's done a really good job of bringing in guys that have moved on to the next level. So I think it's going to have to be something that his players have gotten used to. But I think right now, I think he's focused on this game.
It is a bummer, though, because of the fact that right now they started out really good. That win at Wisconsin's huge to start out, especially coming off such an unbalanced and sloppy year that they had last year. Is this a team that you can see winning the Big Ten if they keep on track?
I mean, I think so, definitely. I mean, I know that, I've been covering the team for a couple years now, and there's plenty of times where I think in the past they would have maybe folded in that game late, not been able to play the defense that they played. And something that jumped out to me, right away, and I'd written about it maybe the next day, 2 days later, is, their defense was on the field in the first game of the season on the road at Wisconsin for 42 minutes. And look at the success that they had. It's a defense it's a team I think that's really going to go as far as its defense can take it. And I think this defense is pretty deep. I think there's a lot of guys at secondary spots that can play in the box, play different positions, guys that can blitz and get sacks and contribute in that way. And I think their linebacking core is the same way. So it's a dangerous group, and I think the offense is coming right along. So to answer your question rather succinctly, I think, this team could win the Big Ten.
Going back to James Franklin for a moment, Travis, a question I've been wondering about the last couple of days. Why is there such a connection with he and USC?
That's a good question. I think, it would just be my opinion and speculation, but I think, USC is obviously, I had some experience out there a little bit when I was in college, writing for a student paper and covered Penn State, and went out to the Rose Bowl in 2008. So, I was kind of like this Southern Pennsylvania hillbilly of sorts at that time. And, it was kind of the bright lights of LA for me. And, I think James Franklin is just that he's an outgoing personality. So I think maybe that, and obviously the success he's had, and I think the recruiting, it's a fantastical recruiting destination for the reasons I said before. I've lived in central Pennsylvania for a little while now, and, you like 4 seasons here. But, I think a couple of different reasons, maybe those would be the ones, his success and just, his personality seems to maybe fit what they would look for there. And it'd be an easy program for a guy to sell that is good at doing it.
How much? Yeah, okay. And we have been wanting to know that.
Yeah, I mean, he's so linked to them every time that job gets brought up. I was searching for some degree he got from there back in the, and there's really no connection. It's just, like you said, he's a great football coach and it's a big job, so that makes sense.
How much did Ohio State losing raise the interest level? Not that Penn State doesn't feel like they can win a Big Ten, or Wisconsin, although Penn State's already beaten them, or maybe even a few others as well. Iowa, Michigan, if they could ever sustain some success. How much did that loss maybe perk the ears of everybody else at the top of the conference?
Well, I could speak for at least the atmosphere here, because I was in the stadium on Saturday when Penn State beat Ball State, and they announced the result of the Ohio State game in the stadium, and it was pretty packed for a season home opener. Obviously, we haven't had any experience dating back to 2019. This big stadium was empty all last year, but the fans kind of lost their minds. I think there's always kind of a collective letdown when Penn State loses to Ohio State. Here in town, it certainly feels like that. So I think, the fact that Ohio State, there's some vulnerability there maybe early on. I think it definitely makes that chance that we talked about a little bit earlier of winning the Big Ten a little bit more real, I think. But this is a confident team. I don't think that they're going to see that result and think, we have a better chance now. I think this group's thought that, they can go to Columbus and have success. So
defensively, they were fantastic against Wisconsin, and at times, it's honestly being true that the Big Ten defense is kind of more of the conference. Not that they can't get up and down the field and score some points, but then they were able to open up a little bit with Clifford, the quarterback, against Ball State. I know it's Ball State, but again, sometimes people underrate those type of schools in that conference from Ball State. How much did you see as an improvement? Was it Ball State, or is that what Penn State can possibly do?
It's interesting you asked that. I asked Sean Clifford after the game, was the design to spread the ball around early like you guys did? Was that the design before the game? And he just kind of grinned and said, get used to that, not really saying whether it was or it wasn't. But I think he hit 10 different receivers in the first half. I think he's a lot more confident guy. You got to remember, they won 4 straight to end last season, and they started to look pretty good, in the last 2 games offensively. Of course, they made the change at offensive coordinator, but I think from week 1 of this season to week 2, I think you saw some improvement there in Sean Clifford's game. Maybe part of that is what you were saying. Part of it is being the Ball State defense wanting to maybe play a little bit soft and try to keep everything in front of them, not give up the big plays. Clifford loves to throw the deep ball. I know he's a guy that likes to go for it. He's also a guy that runs a lot better than people give him credit for. Like, the people that cover the team on a day-to-day basis here kind of know that he has that ability. But I think something that they've introduced this year that they haven't had in years is going under center. They've played in the shotgun ever since James Franklin has taken over here with all the offensive coordinators that they've used. And I think going under center has maybe helped Sean establish a rhythm where maybe you wouldn't get if you're constantly in the shotgun. You're kind of telegraphing to the defense where you're going to be every time you get the ball. So I think that's helped. I just think that he's in a much better rhythm, and I think he's got the playmakers around him.
How do you feel how do you get a feeling for Auburn this week, knowing that they haven't played anybody like Penn State played Wisconsin? You kind of know, in a tough situation, what their deal is. Auburn has a really tough schedule, and this is the first game of that tough schedule. Have you been able to get a read on Auburn yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was actually doing some research earlier today, and I think Coach James Franklin said at his press conference today. Scouting and anticipating what Auburn's going to do is going to be a lot tougher than Penn State's previous 2 opponents, for the reason that Auburn brings in a whole new coaching staff. And those guys have kind of been all over the place. Derek Mason is the defensive coordinator, and Bobo the offensive coordinator. Franklin made the point. What tape do we watch? Do we watch these first 2 weeks where they played some teams that quite frankly weren't testing them as much as what Penn State possibly could? I think that's going to be the interesting thing for me watching the game on Saturday. How did Penn State prepare? What tendencies were they trying to be ready for? And I'm really looking forward to seeing Bo Nix. I don't think I've seen it's going to be interesting to see how he attacks the secondary and what Auburn's plan is. Because I think, like I said before, this is a really talented group. And it'll be nice to see them tested. And it's going to be nice to see a really good game, hopefully.
Yep, and now the state of Philadelphia, the state of Pennsylvania, did they both not win, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, this past weekend in the NFL? Is that everyone a little bit high and mighty up there?
I was going to say, with the way you started with that, half the state might be on you. It's pretty half and half. But, yeah, I have a lot of friends who are Bills fans, so they were kind of riding high thinking that they were going to walk all over the Steelers, and obviously that didn't happen. And the Eagles look pretty good, so I don't know. I'm a Ravens guy, so it was kind of a tough morning to wake up.
Yeah, it was a heck of a game, though, wasn't it?
It was a good game, I'll give you that.
Yeah, not so much
that
the ending,
was
but,
unbelievable. Both teams had it right there. And when Oakland, good God, when the Raiders had the ball on the 1 foot line, when the touchdown was called back and did not score, man, what a wild game that was. It was. Yeah, that was wild and great football on Monday Night Football. Thanks a lot for your time, Travis. Have a great day. Good luck having fun with this week, Auburn and Penn State.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for having me. Nice talking to you.
Travis Johnson covers Penn State for the Associated Press. I mentioned Steelers and Philadelphia both won in the opening week of the NFL season. Steelers beating Buffalo as a huge win, and Pittsburgh throttled Atlanta. I don't know if that's what Philadelphia or is that Atlanta or both? Maybe
Atlanta's kind of been on the downturn for a couple. Well, since the Super Bowl collapse, and Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts looked really good. So they went into the season with a little bit of a quarterback controversy in a way, but Jalen Hurts, he got the job done, man.
You know what I kept thinking about when people were like, "Well, Jalen Hurts, they're going to draft another quarterback, or they're going to trade for Deshaun Watson." And all I could think about was maybe Jalen Hurts will wind up not being the Eagles' quarterback of the future, but don't let him hear you say that. That dude is very driven. He's very serious. What was the game that Alabama won? And, I think maybe they beat LSU or something like that. And it was in the middle of the season. And they won by a 17 late. And he does the interview as if it was right from Nick Saban's mouth of like, yeah, well, we just got to get better. I threw the ball out of bounds when I shouldn't have, or, whatever it was. And you're like, dude, you just won the conference essentially. Yeah. And here you are, talking about next week. That's Jalen Hurts. So it would not surprise me to see to him continue to be good in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. One of the names, and this is from Adam Schefter, who's usually tied in pretty well, of course, in the NFL, is that Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy could be someone that USC looks at. I think that most people would agree that you wonder about when he's going to finally get a head coaching job. As soon as he put that up, John Wilner, who covers the Pac-12, and in fact, we were going to have him on this week at some point, we think, and he's a top 25 voter, all that stuff, and at times not always the most favorite person for Baylor fans, but he said, no, they cannot risk, they have to get this right, they cannot risk a first-year head coach. Now, that doesn't mean Bieniemy wouldn't be successful. He might be tremendously successful. And that was an interesting reaction from somebody who covers the Pac-12.
I'll give you a quick another Mike Bohn connection. Eric Bieniemy. Mike Bohn was the AD at Colorado, and Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator there. So
there you go.
I mean, I'm with them on they probably need to go more established, but
Bieniemy's
excuses are running out for people not hiring Bieniemy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, the more jobs that come open and that he's not a part of, it makes me wonder, like, what's missing? What does he have to do to earn a head coaching job? But no, I totally understand the perspective if USC believes that they need to go more proven at the college level. I mean, he's right. The good thing for Blue Bloods is you can screw it up over and over and over and over again. And guess what? USC's never not going to be a Blue Blood. They could suck for 20 years in a row. And guess what? All it takes is one coach, and then all the flooded memories of Bush and Simpson and Leinart and all that will come flying back just like that. So they could afford to screw this up. They actually could, but it has been long enough since their peak many years ago that it's time that they get it right. And so I can understand not wanting to risk it on somebody who hasn't proven it, done it. I guess at that high of a college football level, but Bieniemy's got to be a head coach somewhere sooner rather than later.
The 9-7-2, Auburn by 10 Saturday over Penn State.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this game.
Franklin needs to stay at Penn State. I love games like Penn State-Auburn, and we've already seen the first couple of weeks of the season. I love the games that are regional crossover type games, and maybe if in fact there's anything positive that comes out of the super conferences or whatever happens, maybe there'll be 8 to 10 or 12 or 15 of those games a week. I still don't think that that's going to be week in and week out sledgehammer, but I do enjoy the cross-sectional Oregon, Ohio State games like that. I do enjoy that. And it's good to see this week Nebraska, Oklahoma. We know what might happen in Norman. It could get ugly. Craig's a lifelong Oklahoma fan. I'm a lifelong Nebraska fan. I'm just glad they're playing again. They never should have stopped playing again. That should have been something the Big 12 didn't screw up from the beginning in 1996. Because if you really want it to happen, you let it happen. And so it will be bad, I think. I have my hopes, but I know that they're very dim.
The Big 12 was so inept that they ended the Texas A&M rivalry, the Nebraska-Oklahoma rivalry, and others as well. Nebraska, Colorado.
Missouri, Kansas. I know some of those. These teams played for 100 years. Some of them did. All right, when we come back, we're going to get into last night's NFL game only because of what Peyton and Eli Manning were doing, offsetting what ABC or ESPN had with their Monday Night Football. Is pretty neat. But also, back to you and your calls, 254-339-1122. And
we won't do calls for another hour. We got Helton.
Oh, that's right, because David Hellman, who normally is at 5, I'm sorry, we'll be able to talk to him about Eli and Peyton because he's normally at 5. We moved him up to 4 today. David Hellman on the Cowboys. What am I thinking? I never do think. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. But I can tell you about Pickup Outfitters, I hope, because what they do is they spice up your truck, your car, your minivan, and also your SUV with bumpers and grill guards and much more. Pickup Outfitters can dice up whatever you have. And let's say you have a pickup truck that has a lot of the bells and whistles, but there's a few things you want to change or even add to what you have. Drop by Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive. Jay Errett, the owner, and what he has done to that business is amazing. And if you buy product and you get it installed by Pickup Outfitters, it will come with a lifetime installation warranty and guarantee as well. It's Pickup Outfitters, createacommotion.com.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Bird Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sikkim Bears.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or
254-776-1543. Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Low snap. Now Prescott throws, and that's going to be caught in the end zone by Amari Cooper. Touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
David Hellman with us, DallasCowboys.com. Cowboys have week 2 in San Diego, LA, against the Chargers, who had a very impressive win on the road. Justin Herbert was spectacular. David, what do you think was better for Dallas? Is that the Chargers won that opening game to get momentum, or the fact Washington lost and they're in the division?
I don't really believe in week-to-week momentum anyway. So, I mean, I get the Chargers as the next team up on the docket, but division teams losing games is always a good thing. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely happy to, for the Cowboys to see Washington fall in a hole. And, whether or not LA won that game or not, they're still going to be at the same tough challenge they were. So, yeah, I'll take the Washington loss for sure.
David, after week 1, I mean, it's an impossible, this is not a season-long question, but what do you think the Cowboys are better at that maybe surprised you a little bit?
Ooh, really good question. Well, it's funny because I think my answer would be I was impressed at how well they protected such a good front without Zach Martin. Obviously, Dak took a lot of punishment in that game, but they were able to keep him upright for the most part. I think he only got sacked one time. So that was really impressive. Obviously, the flip side of that is now you get a new challenge. You get Zach Martin back, but now you're without Lyle Collins. So it's always something with this offensive line. I don't think they haven't had their preferred starting 5 since Thanksgiving 2019, and that looks like it's going to be the case for a little bit longer here. So congratulations on blocking it well against Tampa. Now you got to do it again.
So how do you feel about Terrence Steele starting at right tackle?
I don't think anybody would say they feel good, but I really do think this fan base has an element of PTSD stemming back to the Chaz Green experience all the way back in 2017. I mean, anytime you see your quarterback get sacked 7 times, I get it. And this offensive line was a wreck last year. I get that as well. But what I keep going back to is, and I know the Cowboys didn't have a winning record when Dak got hurt last year, but they were a functioning offense. I mean, they were scoring points. Dak was moving them up and down the field. This is year 6 for him. It's the right tackle. It's not his blind side. I think at some point, obviously, you're going to want to help Terrence Steele get a tight end over there. Zeke's going to need to have another good day in pass pro. But this is not 2017 anymore, where you've got a second-year quarterback who's still trying to find his way. I firmly trust that Dak Prescott can finagle this thing for the offense to have success. It might not be as pretty as it would be with Lyle Collins, but I think the hand-wringing gets a little bit overblown, even acknowledging that it's going to be a challenge.
I was amazed by what I saw, not because I didn't think he would be successful, not that I didn't think he could throw it. I thought what Dak Prescott did in that opening game was almost to the point of courageous. The fact that he was coming back, I know that they wouldn't have used him the way they did or not did during training camp or whatever. I just thought that was an amazing. If there's money, players are overpaid, but then again, they get what they get because of what the collective bargaining agreement. He can't get paid enough as far as I'm concerned.
I'm right there with you, man. And that's, probably why the Cowboys wish they'd paid him a couple years ago. They could have had a cheaper deal for a guy that's capable of doing that. And it's not always going to be pretty, and I get it. They didn't win. They didn't beat Tampa, but, I mean, I'm thinking about what I watched yesterday and the day before, watching week 1 of this league. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the only guy that comes to mind that I think played a better game than Dak Prescott. Maybe Tom Brady, but I think that's even arguable. Again, I know the Buccaneers won, but Dak, I mean, he went toe-to-toe. I thought he was absolutely just as good as Tom Brady in that game. His one interception was really more of a misplay by CeeDee Lamb than anything. I think the world of what he did in that game. And I know moral victories are kind of bogus in the NFL, but if you've got a quarterback capable of doing that, then you've got a chance of winning pretty much every game you play.
Although, David, one of the things that does concern me going forward is the Cowboys aren't going to win a lot of games where Dak has to throw 50 times. They need Zeke to be more involved. Now, that might have just been necessitated by the fact that the Bucs' defensive front is nigh impossible to run on. But do you think that they will involve Zeke more as they move on down in these next weeks because they're not playing Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh?
I get your point, but I'm proud of the Cowboys for recognizing a bad matchup and getting away from it. Because I brought this up on another interview I did. I remember I have PTSD flashbacks to the 2019 Vikings game. If you go back a couple seasons, Dak played a game very similar. He was throwing it all over the yard, and the Cowboys just kept stubbornly running Zeke into the teeth of a good Vikings defense anyway. And basically putting Dak in 3rd and long time and time again just because they wanted to get Zeke involved. And I get it. Zeke makes a lot of money. He needs to have a role. He's going to get numbers as the season goes along. But kudos to Kellen Moore for recognizing that that's a losing matchup and finding other ways. And I mean, it's not like they didn't get those types of yards. Tony Pollard had some nice games on some pop plays. They call it a pass, but if you give the running back the ball behind the line of scrimmage, sure functions like a run in my opinion. So again, I applaud them for their creativity and their adaptability. You get Zach Martin back in the lineup. I think they will have more success running it against teams that don't arguably have the best pair of defensive tackles in the league. So yeah, it's just not something that worries me. It's a long season. I think Zeke's going to be just fine.
David, Michael Gallup being injured and out for the foreseeable future. Obviously, they've got a big performance out of Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. They're not hurting nearly as badly as other teams would be if they lost to Michael Gallup. But how do you see the wide receiving core adapting to life without him for a little while?
Again, I'm not trying to say it's ideal, but this is why you keep 2 veteran backups on your team. There were a lot of people saying, "Ooh, maybe Simi Fehoko can take Noah Brown or Cedric Wilson's job," but they wound up keeping both of those guys. Cedric's been here since 2018. He's got a very good relationship with Dak. He's arguably worked more with him than just about anybody on this team. Honestly, same thing goes for Noah Brown. He's been here since 2017, and you've seen his role get larger and larger as we've gone along. So Cedric gives you the flexibility to play inside and outside, and Noah's got a bigger frame than a lot of guys on this team that would probably allow him to play some X and do some things on the outside, maybe get involved in the blocking game. So you obviously wish you had Michael Gallup, but on top of having Amari and CeeDee Lamb, it's really clutch that they've got 2 guys who are ready to step in who have played a lot of football in this offense.
Last night at 9:49 p.m., David Hellman at Hellman, D.C., watching Peyton Manning absolutely openly despise the Raiders' third and fourth and short play calling might be my favorite thing about Week 1. How amazing was that to listen to those guys?
With all due respect to Steve Levy and Louis Riddick and the guys that do the regular call, I think they're pretty good, but I'll probably never watch their broadcast again. I mean, at least as long as the Manning brothers are doing that, I'm in. I'm so in, because you know, if it was a game that I was emotionally invested in, if I was living and dying with every snap, I probably wouldn't want to watch that. But you know, because they're predicting plays and joking around and criticizing and all that. But if you're just a casual observer who wants to watch the game, but you don't care that much what's going on, I feel like I learned more football in the fourth quarter of that game watching them with Russell Wilson than I have in the last 5 years. Just talking about coverages and why you want to run things against certain looks, and you know, what are you going to do on third down? What are you thinking when you come to the line? I mean, we were watching guys, 5 combined Super Bowl rings, just sitting there talking ball and kind of joking about the game. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal, and I will watch it every time it's on from here on out.
When I turned it on, they were talking to Charles Barkley about getting booed in your home stadium, and Eli and Charles kind of turned on Peyton and that never happened to you.
I know.
You never got booed at your home stadium, and Eli, and I guess Peyton was like, Charles, did you get booed? He goes, I played in Philadelphia. Yeah, of course I got booed.
Yeah.
I mean, they had Barkley, they had Ray Lewis. I mean, Russell Wilson kind of stole the show as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, I thought the guests were good, but they don't even need guests. No. I mean, just those two, obviously they've got chemistry. They're brothers, and they know more about football than most of us could ever hope to know. So it's really cool. I mean, anybody that's listening that didn't watch it last night, I think it runs on ESPN2 during the game. I highly recommend you check it out. I thought it was really cool.
David, thank you very much. Cowboys and Chargers coming up this weekend. Game 2 for both. Cowboys lost their opener at Tampa Bay. Now on the road against a very fun-to-watch quarterback in Justin Herbert, and a team that's pretty good defensively as well. When we come back, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, for the third time since Wednesday. Sick'em 365 Radio.
If you are looking to buy a new home or sell the one you're in, you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson at the Donaldson Family Team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713. Lance describes himself as a local realtor with a unique personality, and you'll definitely see that when you talk to him, but he's someone who can, in this market, which is a crazy seller's market, get you a great value and a great price for the house you're trying to sell, and also navigate you through making sure you don't dump all the money you just made on the house you're selling into the house you're buying. That's what Lance can do. So if you're trying to navigate this home market and this crazy real estate market that we're having right now, call Lance 254-214-3713, or just go online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, or just Google Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty, Waco, Texas, and go right to the page. Lance Donaldson, 254-214-3713.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mac Rhodes, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Mac Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, as well on YouTube. Wow, after searching you out with a search party for months, we've had you. This is our third time since Wednesday, and we're starting to get spoiled.
Well, again, I go back to my statement last time. Thank you for finding a way to fit me in. So, greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I'm going to start off with a kind of a curveball. Do you think you'll ever play Texas and Oklahoma as a non-conference game?
Wow, that's a great. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we probably, that's next step. Thinking about it. Certainly would like to explore that, and I'd be interesting to see how our fans felt about that. But right now we're scheduled fairly out for football, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it'll be an opportunity, but it certainly is something for us to think about.
Well, and of course they have to want to do that too. I mean, it goes both ways. But I was just curious about that during, now that things have settled down just a little bit. But wanted to ask you that question, Paul.
Mac, on scheduling though, you got 4 new teams coming into the conference, and that's obviously something you have to navigate. Did last year maybe help you guys, since you had to schedule things in 3 days sometimes, maybe help tear down some of the walls in figuring out schedules that were maybe unnecessarily there before?
Yeah, I think Paul, they did. I think we learned that it doesn't have to be that complicated. I think what we really need to be having a conversation about is, how far out should we be scheduling? When we think about exciting matchups, whether it's conference matchups, and of course, right now for the Big 12, we play each other. Everybody plays each other, so it's not as what's the word, as important. But as you think about just the dynamics in scheduling when you get beyond, maybe 10 institutions. When we think about non-conference and when we think about conference, do we have to do it that far out? So, if you've got divisions and you're going to play everybody once in your own division, are there some things that you could do that are unique and based on how you're ranked, et cetera, playing those in the other division. Again, non-conference stuff. Do we need to be scheduling out 10 years so that we can ensure that there's some exciting matchups? So to your question, yeah, I think it's given us an opportunity again to think about it a little bit differently. I think as we move forward, those four schools come in, right? We clearly anticipate them coming in before the end of the 24-25. Do we go to divisions at that point in time? I thought it was unique the way the ACC did it last year during COVID. Obviously, a reduction in number of games, but 15 teams, and they did go divisions, 2 best teams. Do we continue to do that? As we do that now with the 10. So a lot for us to think about and consider as we move forward.
Mac, how apprised did you feel the need to keep your coaching staff updated, or how interested were they in the expansion process, and what has kind of been the thoughts that you've gathered from your head coaches as far as expansion in the future and the teams that will be coming in?
Yeah, we kept them, I would say, up to date as best we could. I mean, there were obviously things that I knew that I was required to keep confidential, and I had to keep confidential. But there were checkpoints, check-ins, I should say, with our coaches. The day of the announcement, we had a meeting with them at 8:15 a.m. and we knew that the presidents were going to vote right about that time, and so we let them know that that the 4 would be coming in. I think the response has been, Craig, really positive. I know that many of our head coaches, if not all of them, have reached out to their counterparts at those 4 institutions to welcome them to the league and say hello. But our coaches are competitors. They want to coach, and our student athletes are competitors. They want to compete at the highest level, and I think they feel good about the teams we added and the competitiveness of this new, if you will, Big 12 moving forward.
Have you noticed how much those 4 fan bases of the incoming group, how passionate they are? Some have flags already with your logo, Big 12 logo on it. I mean, our audience, which exploded back when the Texas and Oklahoma story broke, has become coast to coast. And I mean, every one of those 4 fan bases are heavily involved in what we do with their daily insight and opinions. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, we have. We had a call today with the athletic directors, and we actually talked about that. We talked about how cool it was to just see reaction by those 4 institutions, by their fan base, just how excited they are, and that should make us feel good. That's what we talked about. That they're that excited to come in and lock arms with the 8 of us. Again, it'll be with the 10 of us for probably 1 or 2 years. But it's awesome. And again, I said it on Friday, and I believe I said it again on Saturday, that the Big 12 has a great future and doesn't need to back down to anybody when we think about national relevancy.
I got a question for you. There is still, obviously the Kansas athletic director had a comment about they're still going to look at what's best for them, and everybody has to do that. But this seems to be a time when a comment like that just seems to be bad timing. That doesn't mean what he said is wrong. And then there was a report that got flagged down, and of course I basically nuked pretty quickly about a couple of your schools, one, TCU in Houston, another that were also involved in another conference. Isn't that what the Big 12 needs to get away from and truly try to all 12, not Texas and Oklahoma right now, but all 12, understand the value of just showing unity and actually being united?
Yeah, I think that. So, one is, as don't always believe what you read, and there's no truth to the TCU Houston rumor out there, and of course, when that happens, that gets, for example, people at Texas Tech or at Baylor excited about it, and again, just don't believe everything that you read,
right?
And but I do agree with you, Smoak, that this is a time for us to all come together. I know Travis, the new athletic director at KU, and I didn't hear that comment, and I'm not sure what the context was behind it, but I do know that he's fully locked in. His president was part of the expansion committee, and so his president is absolutely 100% in the trenches, as is Travis. So, but yeah, we can do a better job, be more careful, and I think the next, I think the next 3 or 4 years are really critical for us, and even before those 4 enter, just the work that we do and the way we handle it, and some of the groundwork that we lay before they actually start competing. I think if we are smart and we do that really, really well, and we form the right relationships and create the right vision, we're going to be off and running when those schools actually begin competing.
If in fact Texas and Oklahoma will leave before the end of the grant of rights, one, would you expect the grant of rights to be extended almost immediately? And I know you can't say much. And if in fact they leave a year or two early, do you know whether their exit fees, whatever number it might be, whatever's negotiated, et cetera, does that go to just the remaining 8 schools, or will that be spread out to the incoming schools as well?
Yeah, I think, one, I don't know that that's been completely decided. And if it has, I don't know that, the ADs or necessarily even the CEOs have an awareness of it. I think there's this kind of first tier that, anything before 24-25, the 8 will remain whole as best as possible, right? The conference will do everything it can for the 8 of us to remain whole, and then still carry on the commitment to the other 4 between 24 right up to the 24-25. And then I think after that, we're I would suspect we're all, equal, and we'll forge ahead together. The grant of rights piece, again, I think we're all going to live by the current grant of rights until that expires. And then, we'll begin thinking about that next step. And, that's part of the groundwork that we need to begin to lay and to really have strategic, thorough discussion. What's best? How do we really catapult this conference forward? And I think there's a lot that we can get done here in the next couple of years. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor University. How about your head football coach? Obviously 2-0, 2 games you expect to win. Kansas coming up on the road this week. Somewhat comedic at the end of his press conference when referring to meeting Bob Bowlesby under certain circumstances for the first time, where it was always kind of a bad thing or a nervous thing because of all the stuff that was swirling. And that he had a chance to enjoy an opportunity to meet the commissioner.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Aranda, I call it. He can be sneaky funny.
That's true.
And so, you know, and it's certainly easier to be sneaky funny when you've just won a football game. And you know, I know he was happy about the game. It was certainly a game that we were expected to win. And again, that's no disrespect to Texas Southern. And I think what he was pleased about is we didn't play down to our competition, and that you could see some real growth between the Texas State game and that game. But yeah, he was in good spirits. I can assure everyone though that evening, following the press conference, we sat in the locker room area and we began to talk about Kansas, and he was already focused on playing at Kansas and against a team that I think is much improved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think the Coastal Carolina score was indicative of really just, you know, how well Kansas played and competed, and so they're a better team, and they're a program that I think is going to head in the right direction, and we're going to have to be ready and be prepared to go on the road a second time this season.
I sat with Coach Aranda yesterday for an interview we aired yesterday, and I know that he had to suspend Apu, his defensive tackle, nose tackle, for an incident. He talked about that and even said something in the post game. How much do you get involved? Is there a level of whatever an incident might be before you get involved, or is that something you know right away?
Yeah, it's something that I know right away. I demand that I know that right away with all of our student athletes in any conduct issue. And so, you know, I'm you know, depending upon, you know, what that conduct issue is or a violation of team rules, however you want to describe it, I'll be more involved than you know, some incidents. But you know, with Apu, we were you know, Coach and I were very much aligned and talked through it. And you know, he's a really good young man, and he'll learn from it and get better because of it. But you know, there's a standard that and we've talked about this. There's a standard throughout our athletic department, and we have high expectations, and you know, we're going to continue to hold our young people and our staff,
mm-hmm.
You know, myself included, you know, to that standard.
If a student athlete has to see you, is that like when Mom used to say, "You wait till your father gets home"?
Oh, I don't think it's after that. At least in my household, man. When I heard that, I can't wait till your father gets home. I knew that was not very good. So
yeah.
But no, again, it's you know, it's a collaboration, head coach and myself and sport program administrator, and you know, there's, as you can imagine, right, there's things that I'm more disappointed with than maybe some other things, and there's some things that, you know, I can even get angry about, you know, when some things happen, because I just, you know, sometimes you know, those are they're things that just shouldn't happen. And but look, we you know, we all make mistakes, and it's about how you handle them once you do, and how you grow from them and learn from them. And you know, I think in general, you believe in second chances. Now, there's some things that absolutely there are no second chances for, but for those things that they're second chances, again, it's really up to that individual to see how they respond to it, and if they respond well, you know, we move forward. If they don't, then that's another conversation.
So, Mac, I've been waiting about an hour to say that I got the new potential expansion of class limits. I misunderstood it when I read it earlier, and I knew about the cap, but I don't know. I needed to kind of read it over again, and now I think I have a better grasp of what it's going to look like if the NCAA does move forward like they look like they will on expanding football signing class limits. What are your thoughts? I know there's a couple of different outlines that are out there on how this could work, but what do you think about an expanded football signing limit?
Yeah, I think that anything that's being talked about is just for a year to see what it looks like and the impact that it has. Again, the 85 scholarship limitation would remain in place, so you're not talking about surpassing that.
Right.
I think there's concern with the transfer portal and the one-time transfer exception, and potentially what's that doing to rosters. And so trying to give everybody the ability to at least if you have a number of young men transfer out that you can replace them. And so again, you've got that max limit of initial counters of 25, and then there's this idea of anybody after a certain point in time that leaves your institution. So after the December 15th early signing period, if they're leaving your institution academically eligible, that you could replace them on a 1-for-1 basis up to 7. So if you lose one, you can only go out and get one. If you lose 7, you can go out and replace all 7. If you lose 10, sorry, you can only replace 7. And so again, it's something that's being socialized amongst the conferences and in this period of time where we're receiving feedback and reaction to it. So we'll see where this lands. I think we'll know certainly by the end of this month.
Mac, thank you very much. Appreciate you as always for your time and access.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor University, with us on Tuesdays. It's been Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday after 3 times in the last week, but normally around 4:20 or so on Tuesdays.
That's been bothering me for an hour and a half since we talked about it, that I didn't know the part about the max cap. Because, to me, it just read like Wild West. And that's where I was like, come on now, this is ridiculous, because you could lose half a class and there's no penalty for it. But, no, having a cap at 7, okay, I'm on board with that. That makes total sense. And, it does seem like it'll be a fair shake for, not necessarily a move that's more pushing for more NIL and more NFL feel and more that. It actually would be something that would be beneficial for those that aren't benefiting as much that way. So I had that confused and had a piece of information missing. So now knowing what I know and then hearing Mac talk about it as well, okay, to everybody out there, it makes a lot more sense.
All right, when we come back, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, Sikkim 365 Radio. Impact Research Institute excels as a patient-centered, cutting-edge clinical trial, world-class research facility with studies, personal touch with over 2 decades of research experience. Impact Research with Dr. Gunn and her staff, now in Waco with their ribbon cutting a few weeks ago, and right now helping to raise the awareness for something that is bad, that could bother you, could hurt you, could kill you if you're not careful. Risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease from diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Here's what Dr. Gunn and her staff do. 1, contact them. They're a location. You can even walk in and register and also tell them you need, or call them, go online as well. And I'll give you the website in a second. Is tell them that, I don't know. Because a lot of times you don't know. So then why not get a screening to make sure you don't have something? But if you have any of these other red flags, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and cholesterol, you could also be battling fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and that's not good. That isn't a bad thing. So they can do a screening. And then if you need more or they need to see more, they will send you to Ideal MRI, which is one of our sponsors, and they'll do an MRI to double check whatever it might be. I've done the screening. I've done the MRI, and I ended up with nothing there. It's good. But I was fortunate. You never know. You could still be in shape and have problems. Impact Research Institute with Dr. Gunn, they're doing a great job. You might be saying, that's not for me. Not only will they help you with direct counseling, but there's a possibility that you could be a part of the clinical trial with compensation if you qualify. Impact Research Institute, the FibroScan and the screening. Contact Dr. Gunn at Impact Research Institute in Waco off Fish Pond Road.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality Study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by, let's be friends.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor Alumni Program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
It's football season. Sports bettors and BetUS.com has your NFL and college football live betting lines up for their 27th year. Why BetUS.com? Well, they're the 3-decade leader, and you can join now for a 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 with cash, or a 200% bonus on crypto with SICK'EM200. The 3-decade leader with action on every sport across the world. We can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game at BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Welcome Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar, where we take a look at some stories outside of our normal scope, where we talk a lot of college football and Cowboys and various other things, but a look a little bit outside of the box, so to speak. I'm going to say that you guys probably did not order the big Evander Holyfield fight this past weekend. He and Vitor Belfort in another freak show fight that has become commonplace now in boxing. They fought on Saturday night. Evander Holyfield, about to turn 59 here pretty soon, and took on former UFC star Vitor Belfort at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Holyfield stopped on his feet 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes actually, into the opening round, and wasn't a lot of action, but what action there was, it was pretty obvious that Evander Holyfield has absolutely no business being in any kind of a ring other than to raise a winner's hand. But he was out there. Thankfully, there was no, big injury or anything like that, but they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to these freak show fights, and they're going to kill somebody if they keep having the Evander Holyfields of the world who already have way too much damage, and they're throwing him in there against UFC fighters. Like Vitor Belfort is on the back leg of his career, but he's still a highly dangerous man. And look, he's 44, but he's got 15 years on Evander Holyfield, not to mention the blows to the head that Evander suffered over time. But Evander tried to, after the fight, say they stopped it too early. Meanwhile, Belfort, he called out Jake Paul, because that's the world we live in now. And apparently Triller, who is the company that's behind a lot of these fights, have offered $30 million for Jake Paul to fight Vitor Belfort following Belfort's victory over Holyfield. Paul says he's skeptical of the offer. He's not sure that that's actually a legitimate offer, but that could very well be the next freak show fight, because the Paul brothers are incredibly popular. I mean, you can say what you want to about them, but those guys know how to get business done and know how to produce and know how to make money. Also on that card, Anderson Silva, another former UFC fighter. He beat the mess out of former UFC fighter Tito Ortiz in a very short, quick fight. And the thing when I'm watching these is like the blow that he took, I'm sure it would knock me out too. But it's just these guys are so old and so slow, and the punch that knocked him didn't even look like it really registered all that well. So, this is just kind of the world we're living in now. Like I said, these freak show fights. But Evander Holyfield, I don't want to see him ever again unless, like I said, he's raising a heavyweight's hand after a tremendous boxing contest.
Yeah, we interviewed Evander Holyfield at the Super Bowl in Atlanta, and I remember thinking then, kind of being impressed that he was as together as he was, given how long he fought. But he was still. I mean, you hear Evander Holyfield talk; he's very deliberate, very slow, and it wasn't always that way. And so, I don't want to see a 59-year-old, 58-year-old guy get punched.
I've said this so many times. I know it's like screaming into a forest with nobody listening. Boxing is what we see now. Well, this is what boxing is. It's not the elite fights that used to drive pay-per-view, that used to drive interest, that used to drive me to buy Ring magazines. I saw that because I happened to see the other fight, the Tito Ortiz, just a little note. And then I said, what the hell, Evander Holyfield? And sure enough, he knocked his ass out. I mean, it's basically.
Yeah, he did. But, there's an audience for it, clearly. We're just not in that audience.
You know why there's an audience? I think it's because of reality TV.
For sure.
Because of Instagram models and things like that. And that's fine. Make your money however you can. But also because boxing doesn't have depth. There's certain divisions that suck.
It's always funny when I start talking to a boxing fan about something, and the heavyweights you can kind of at least talk about right now because of the Tyson Furies and the Anthony Joshuas and those types of guys. Although that's a very small club as well. It's really like 3 to 4 guys, maybe 4. But really, it's like 2 to 3. And the other, classes, boxing fans will tell you, there's great fights, but there's not star power. There's not recognizable names. And that was something the UFC had to build over time. But boxing, I don't know how they build that at this point, because I don't know. It's just,
if I'm a boxing fan, or I'm kind of a tangential boxing fan, or I like it, and I watch a great fight, and somebody says, okay, what's the next boxing fight? It's going to be an old guy versus a YouTube star, or it's going to be Lamar
Manny Pacquiao again,
Lamar Odom's going to fight Aaron Carter, and you're like, why do I care about that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if Triller will follow through on the $30 million offer for one of the Paul brothers and Vitor Belfort, but that's the next thing that they're teasing. Doesn't interest me at all, but it is something that got a lot of attention, and seeing Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz in a boxing match and all that kind of stuff. There seem to be a lot of people watching on social media, although that's kind of a fun house mirror at times and not always exactly as popular as you think.
From Sam on what we're talking about, it's not the boxing industry's fault. It's the dumbass fans who shell out money to watch this garbage.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then also, Belfort has always been a killer when he was juiced.
Yeah.
When he's clean, he's a pussycat. That's from Mr. Bloodline.
Well, Belfort is, from the Brazilian side of things where, if you go back to early MMA before UFC really blew up, before that, and UFC was still around, but it hadn't really exploded, and you had Pride, and you had K1, and you go back and you look at especially at those old Pride fights where they had guys like Vanderlei Silva and many others that were competing. They were juiced to the absolute gills. The Japanese promoters wanted them juiced to the absolute gills because what's a bigger freak show than these freaks that are even freakier than normal?
Yeah.
And so they were all roided up. I mean, Vanderlei Silva, dude, I mean, it was unbelievable. And they used to fight like that, and it was super popular. Not popular enough to last, but yeah, I'm not necessarily blaming boxing. I'm just saying there's not a lot of headliners anymore. You got your Errol Spences, and you got your couple of heavyweights, but yeah, you're right. It's a lot of dumbass people that are paying for it and are interested in it. I'm just not one of those people anymore.
Okay, I don't want you to lose all the rest of your stories.
No, it's fine.
Let's go.
All right, Monday Night Football, huge ratings, 7.4 million total viewers, a 1.7 in the demo. They had obviously a great game with Monday Night Football and the Raiders winning in thrilling fashion. So they do top the night, 7.4 million total viewers. But going back to last week, that Cowboys-Buccaneers rating was absolutely insane. A 13.4 rating, 24.8 million viewers on NBC Thursday night. 24.8. That is a massive number. Highest rated, most watched season opener since 2016. And,
they have also the Cowboys before they disappoint you. And then you have Brady and the Super Bowl champions. Perfect match.
If that was like a sitcom, they would have spun off like 1,000 shows from it.
Yeah.
That's what they would have done.
Yep.
Absolutely. NFL, Josh Gordon back in the news once again. The NFLPA has determined Josh Gordon has successfully completed his NFL monitored treatment program and there's been a recommendation to the NFL that he be reinstated per sources to Adam Schefter. Gordon is awaiting final approval from Commissioner Roger Goodell and said he is ready to play and that he is vaccinated. So, some of the rules have changed as far as the drug tests and things like that go. Josh Gordon seems like a swell guy based on the people that we know that know him really well. But, man, I'm tired of seeing this as a yearly story for the last decade because that's what it's felt like. It's for the last decade we've been talking about Josh Gordon and whether or not he's eligible to play, and most of the time he hasn't been eligible to play. But now, for like the 15th time in the last 5 years, he is eligible once again. So Josh Gordon coming to a city near you potentially.
Yeah, I'm surely understand forgiveness. I understand opportunities, second, third, whatever chances. And all of us need that at some points in our lives for whatever reason. But man, like honestly, eventually, is there not like after 8 or 9 or 12 of these? No matter what you've done to save his career, and he must be a great person. And that's what you hear. What you said, Spencer Drango said he's an absolutely incredible teammate. But eventually, Kyle, Randy Gregory was right on the tip of the iceberg, and it seemed like, for now, he's okay.
If you're Josh Gordon, when does it come time to move on to not even to the NFL? Well, if you're Josh Gordon personally, when does it become time to move on to the next thing in your life that will enable you to lead a clean and sober life?
You really
better?
think that's going to happen?
No, he's saying what leads to that.
But I mean, like for him personally, to him go, All right, because I know the NFL is the thing he's going to make the most money at.
But he's been suspended so many times, he keeps doing it even if he is suspended.
He's saying what's it going to take?
What's it going to take for him to move on to the next thing in his life?
Something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to get older now at this point. He's been around so long.
He's a big freak show, though.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
absolutely. But it's just like as soon as he plays the first weekend and catches probably a bomb touchdown, everybody's waiting for the shoe to drop. Like 2 days later, NFL announces suspension because that's how it's happened over and over and over again. So good luck to him. He's been cleared, and maybe this time will be the time. But I've said it so many times that I just don't even believe it myself, really. But good luck to him. This is a weird story. The Athletic had this. Alcorn State had to cancel practice on Monday and Tuesday due to a lack of available trainers. They're playing South Alabama on Saturday, and they might not have a practice the entire week because coaches are concerned about the safety of players. Program sources told The Athletic, and Fred McNair, their head coach, also talked about it on his radio show. They're blaming the athletic department and the administration of the athletic department. They have no full-time athletic trainer. They're only part-time contracted trainers, and they're unavailable due to COVID-19. So as a result of that shortage, Alcorn State's not practicing the last couple days and may not practice at all ahead of their game coming up this weekend, which seems like a little bit of a slippery slope to walk, but that's something that is a little bit out of the ordinary for sure. Also, I think you mentioned this last week, but maybe not. Dana Holgerson and Kelvin Sampson saw from Houston Chronicle $1 million bonuses with Houston entering the Big 12.
Wow.
That kicked in a clause in their contract, so they both make $1 million as a result of moving to the Big 12.
Well, one of them has certainly earned it.
Yes, one of them has earned it so far. The other remains to be seen.
I can't believe you're hating on Kelvin Sampson. He went to the Final Four, lost to the national champions. Yeah, Holgerson, we see a lot of going on in our chat room with Holgerson. We'll see what happens, and I hope they do really well. I mean, want them to.
This is from ESPN Flora on Twitter. It's week 2's come and gone college football. There have already been 3 games that have surpassed the 7.5 million viewer mark. Last year, it took 11 weeks. It took 11 weeks in 2019 for 3 games to average at least 7.5 million viewers. So only 2 weeks in, they're already hitting that mark as opposed to 11 weeks 2 years ago. So it seems like ratings are back for a lot of sports, are starting to be back to their normal levels. And a final note for you, something to keep an eye on. The NFL Sunday Ticket looks to be on the move. And Disney-owned ESPN said that they've had talks to acquire the rights. There's also a lot of talk about potentially Amazon or potentially another outlet as well. But Sunday Ticket has long been established as something you got to have satellite for, which kind of does seem kind of archaic nowadays, doesn't it? To have something like that just seems like it belongs on an app somewhere. Well, it could very well be happening. And although just mentioned NBC or ESPN, as a front runner, Amazon's now appearing to be in the lead for this thing and could pay the NFL up to $2.5 billion to stream Sunday Ticket games on the Amazon platform. So they look like they might be the next ones to grab that away from DirecTV, and that would make it a lot more accessible for a lot more people. But right now, Amazon and Sunday Ticket could be the way we see it going in the future.
Well, DirecTV, when they got bought by AT&T, I kept waiting for this shoe to drop, and I've been a DirecTV subscriber for a long time, mostly because of the availability of sports like this. Is why I get it, and I mean, if it goes, I have to look at what my...
Isn't it available on cable now? Is DirecTV available?
No. Well, they have...
I'm not DirecTV. The NFL Sunday ticket on like Spectrum or what?
No. You have the Red Zone.
That's
you can get the Red Zone, which again,
and that's extra.
The Red Zone though is a lot cheaper than the Sunday Ticket for the whole year, and almost renders it useless for a lot of people because you're not going to flip around a lot of games. So I don't know what'll happen. For me personally, but I do think that a cafeteria plan with the Sunday Ticket makes sense now in our modern era of streaming, and not having to buy a satellite dish to watch it really makes sense.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Amazon app. I got 2 buttons, and boom, there's Sunday Ticket, as opposed to having a thing on my roof and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, it looks like Amazon's in the lead, although there was talk about perhaps some others getting involved. But not sure anybody else will pony up $2.5 billion for Sunday Ticket. So there's a few things that are off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. Here, one note. How about the story of the U.S. Open? Emma Raducanu, I think that's how you say her name. There was a qualifier. Goes through the qualifying to win the U.S. Open. And the U.S. Open had a lot of storylines. Serena obviously not a part of it. Osaka got knocked out early, but that young lady went through the qualifying. And the reason I brought that up is because somebody on the YouTube chat room said you better bring it up. So I brought that up for you. All right, from Sam Kim again. Amazon is the head honcho of the modern robber barons.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
All right, when we come back, we'll have John McClain at the bottom of the hour. Let's go to some text line. Paul, do we have time for calls or not? Why not? Kinda. It's 5:05. It'd be 5:10. Yeah. All right, let's do it. Get on the line. We'd love to hear from you. 254-339-1122. We've bounced around some of the games coming up. We heard from Penn State writer. We heard from Ryan Abraham covering USC and their coach search that started yesterday afternoon. Also from you, did you watch Eli and Peyton Manning? Did you like that? What's the game this weekend in college football that maybe piques your interest the most? Sick'em 365 Radio.
BetUS.com. You've heard us talking about it for weeks now. Remember these promo codes, Sick'em125 and Sick'em200. And make sure, if you use them, make the deposit. That way you get the credit. And of course, we get the credit right away, and they don't take away your promo code. Sick'em125 and Sick'em200 for BetUS.com. That's a 125% bonus on a deposit of $100 or more, or a 200% bonus on a deposit of $100 or more if you use crypto. So keep that in mind. And why BetUS? They're the 3-decade leaders over 25 years and prides themselves on being known as America's favorite sports book. And with action on every sport across the world, we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game. And BetUS offers the industry's biggest retail bonuses to keep their players betting longer. And the BetUS loyalty program is legendary. They keep their players up to date with articles, players, team stats, and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions. BetUS.com, promo code Sick'em125 or Sick'em200.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Smith is the running back. Bohannon looks his direction. Nothing there. Now Bohannon's going to try to duck and run. Dives for the end zone. Did he get in? Yes, he did. Touchdown, Baylor.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
254-339-1122. Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. Jack McKenzie and Armstrong Sims run the mothership. You got something?
Yeah, just a couple college football notes that were of interest.
All right.
For one, saw this, some Ohio State reporters at Ryan Day had his media, and obviously there's some questions about the Buckeyes defense, and it's from Jared Smalley at NBC4. Ryan Day has had a couple chances to say Kerry Coombs will call the defense this weekend, and he has not committed to that, has not said he will not, but not exactly a vote of confidence. So something to keep an eye on there with the Buckeyes, as that's obviously a big question mark. And Pat Ford even followed up, said Ryan Day kind of left D.C. Kerry Coombs hanging today. Ohio, yeah, and then obviously they're a problem there. So that's I thought of interest, or at least a little note to kind of okay,
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
That usually, if there's a smolder, that could smolder, and then next thing you know, poof.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that it should have happened already or before. Got to this point, and also. Good old Nick Rolovich over at Washington State back in the news once again with not answering questions about the Washington vaccine mandate and how he plans to adhere to that while also not getting vaccinated. And so it just turned into another thing again today. And I'm just wondering how long they're going to play that game before, it eventually is just not fun to play anymore.
Yeah.
But, he's obviously been quite controversial. And so I just happened to see about 20 or 30 minutes ago another back and forth where he's just telling a reporter, I can't answer certain questions, blah, blah, blah. But, he's not getting into it, basically, is what he's saying. And as you can imagine, the media doesn't take kindly when you just basically say, I'm not going to answer your questions. So hot seat for sure up in Pullman, I would say. I
wonder if we who ask the questions, and it's our job too, and there's questions we've asked Mac Rhodes that have not been easy, and they shouldn't always be easy, and or Dave Aranda or whatever. How would we handle someone interviewing us?
Oh, yeah, I think about that all the time.
Now,
a lot of times when I hear athletes talk about, how I will say that on one hand, I'm sure it's tiring to answer questions, and especially after a game. Especially if it's an emotional thing, I can absolutely understand that and don't think we need to take, the crying player and immediately put them on a podium. But I will also say this isn't rocket science, and it's not like you're up there for an hour answering the most brutal questions on earth. You can handle it and be done in 5 minutes if you just handle it the right way, and everybody can be happy with what they got. But it's those who try to just not play along that it just makes it weird. You know what I mean? And so I get it. It's something you'd rather not do, but it's also part of why everybody knows who you are. That's why people go follow you on Twitter, is because they read quotes or, they take a liking to you or whatever. So I think there's a mutual benefit. I also think there's a mutual opposite of that. But I'm sure it would be annoying, but I don't think it would be that hard, quite frankly. I mean, answering questions.
Well, no, it's not, Craig, to your point, it's not asking deep questions about life 99% of the time.
It's the generic questions.
It's generic questions, and
I get that.
And it can't always just be because it's good. If you've done something or you turned the ball over that cost you a game, whether it's a college player or not, you got to be able to. We love being asked real nice things, right, or what we did or didn't do, but at the same time, it's really not like you're putting your hand in a wood chip.
Yeah, I think it's been blown out of proportion, the difficulty of it and all of that. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure a pro athlete feels differently. Obviously, Naomi Osaka and others do feel differently about it. But I think it's kind of been made into something way more serious than it really is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think about Des Bryant, and I always used to wonder, why are you so mad, Des? Like, what do you I mean?
That could be because of his upbringing. He never trusted anybody.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe his old football coach, the late John Outlaw, maybe a couple of other guys in his neighborhood. I just think Des Bryant was almost, and I don't want to use this term because we heard it earlier about PTSD when it comes to trusting people.
Well, yeah, and look, sometimes I want to sit some of these people down that think they're getting tough questions, and ask tough question, easy question, and I'll give you a tough question, and then I'll ask you a really easy question. You'll see, that the tough questions you're not usually getting. Like, tell me your deepest seated fear and what was the worst thing that happened to you when you were a kid. I don't know if I really want to talk about that publicly. So in the fourth quarter, when you guys didn't get that first down, how did that change the momentum of this game? Mm-hmm. That way you understand, I'm not asking you to tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. I just want to know what changed after that fumble.
Yeah. And when you dig your heels in, if you're the one being interviewed, and at times our profession should know, and some are better than others, and some don't care. There's a time to ask it, and you can tell whether you can push a little bit more or not. And there's some that no matter what, they're going to push because they want to become part of the story, which is the number one thing in journalism. You should not ever be a part of the story, but that's changed with all the Yap shows.
I would definitely say that in this day and age, I can totally understand why you would be fearful of saying anything, really. You know what I mean? And because not only what you say might be taken out of context, but there are so many reporters now, and I use that term loosely, that are about just what's the most controversial take that I can make off of this, or how can I make this controversial, or whatever can just create the most noise, not necessarily positively, but just noise in general. And I think that obsession with noise for a lot of people in the media is a problem, and it has led to people or to athletes, I should say, feeling a certain kind of way. And I can totally understand that. But I think the whole post-game routine, maybe it's more difficult elsewhere, but JT Woods got up there and he was gone in 3 minutes on Saturday night, and it was no problem, and it was not a big deal. And granted, they won the game, but he would have been that way if they had lost that game. You know what I mean? And so he went up there, did it, boom, done, go to the showers, go party, do whatever you do. I just think some probably just make it too big of a deal in their own minds, maybe.
I listened to JT Woods, and it's not the first time, because there was a couple of media sessions, and I thought Gary Bohannon, again, coming off an easy win and all that, they both, it was refreshing. Now, again, if they lose to Kansas and Lawrence, that won't be as easy. Or if they get beat by 20 by Iowa State, or they win, I just think both of those guys are good interviews no matter what. I think that no matter what. It's a personality thing as well. Some of it's just kind of how you are as a person. Are you more open or not? Are you guarded for whatever reason? You've been burned before. And that happens, I think, in professional sports as well, not just pros, but the colleges.
And I do feel kind of weird even saying that, I'm not in that position, so I don't know what it's like for the LeBrons and those types. But for, just your average athlete going up after the game, I don't see it as that big of a deal, but I don't know. I'm not walking in their shoes. So.
Yeah, I agree. All right, there's, where was it? I thought I had a note here, and of course means I don't think I do. Yeah. Okay, hold on just a second. Let's go. Oh, that was something I let the show off with. I have already done that. Let's go to the text line from the 770. And if in 15 years someone will dig it up and get you fired, they're talking about the interviews.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and that really does. That has been something that, to me, when you see that are people who are hired to find things that you either put on social media 10, 12, 15, 25 years ago, not just sports, everything, politicians, actors, it's insane that somebody's job is to go find dirt on you only because they don't like you.
Well, the thing is
maybe getting to be too popular.
It's not even so much it's people's jobs as there are people with no lives who just want to hurt people, and they go and look for something to be able to hurt somebody else. And the dumbest thing that if you're a football player and you are eligible for the draft this year and you have not gone through your Twitter profile from when you were 15 years old and saying dumb stuff you didn't realize was that dumb, then you're dumb, because that's been a yearly story now in the NFL draft that some guy in his old social media and
was it Laramie Tunsil?
Yeah, that was actually
Josh
the gas
Allen?
mask,
Yeah.
but Josh Allen was one of them, and so you got to be very mindful of that.
The director of the musical performance of the opening ceremony of the Tokyo Olympics got fired because in a newspaper article from 1999, he admitted that he bullied a gay kid when he was in school.
Yep.
Okay. He wasn't saying like, hey, you know what I miss? Bullying gay kids. That's not what he said. He was just saying, yes, I had it. It was part of the thing, and now I've grown and changed as a person. Like, I don't know what the article was, but he kind of admitted to it. And it just started this whole thing about, well, how I shouldn't do this. That was 20 years ago. More than that.
Yeah, it was more than that.
Does he do it currently?
What's probably more annoying to me is, again, you shouldn't say certain things no matter when it was ago, but those who are digging it up are the ones who themselves are as guilty of anything as anything else. But that's okay. Let's see here. From Mike Games, this is for the Ram. This is an NFL note. The Rams leaving St. Louis was part of a deal made between the franchise and the league. Goodell told them, if you move back to L.A., we'll put you in a Super Bowl. And obviously, is it this year? Yeah, it is L.A. this year. Let's see. Let's see. Jeff Grimm, Alabama fan, he's talking about Bama, but I actually put $25 on the Texans playing the Lions in Super Bowl. If it happens, I'll buy 365 Sports, give them all a raise, and have them do an SEC hour.
Hey, I'm all for that.
Go Texans and Lions.
There is no chance in hell, but yeah, that would be
Brian,
awesome.
Ashley and Colt would love the money you pay them to buy the site, but I don't think they're ever going to give it up because these guys are amazing.
I don't know. It depends on what that Mega Millions is or whatever the payoff is. Not Mega Millions, this lottery, but whatever the payoff for the bet is. That would be 25 on the Texans and Lions in the Super Bowl. I can imagine would be astronomical, but good luck with that one actually.
How about you do
fruition.
That? You can buy the Sikkim 365, but Ashley, Brian, and Colt have to remain in charge.
What's the point?
Well, I mean...
Well, I guess you could just,
I
it's
think
yours and you don't have to really deal with it.
It's not their job to run the site, although they all three put an amazing amount of hours into it. I mean, it's almost crazy to think about it. There's a lot going on about the NFL and their books and all of that stuff. Bob Knight was difficult as an interview. I interviewed him one time. He was in Tyler to speak at a private school Texas Tech type gathering. And he was in town, and the person who was, I guess, an alum of Texas Tech set this up for me. And I think it was the setting that maybe and the fact that, hell, I'm old. It went good. It went well. It wasn't the greatest or the easiest. That's one of those guys you cannot, if you're intimidated, it's like if you get on a horse and they know you're scared. Mm-hmm. Right? There's certain guys that do that.
I think the easiest thing to do is just not care at all about who they are and ask them legitimate questions if you're not intimidated by them. Most people don't want to be, fawned over. I mean, they want to be respected, but like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. So if you just approach them on an equal level with respect, then most of the time it's going to go well. Although there are some people who are just, nuts.
Here's from Jeff on the NFL. If you want every NFL game, it's only $35 a month to get Sling for 4 months and then buy a VPN package for $16 for 3 months. Change your IP address to the one that shows your team. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, you'll do that in no
Paul,
time.
when you going to be able to come over and do that for me?
You lost them at VPN for sure. But, yeah, I mean, there are ways to go about, finding the games and all of that. But Sunday Ticket on Amazon, I think, would really be a big deal because it would be so accessible for so many people. Thus, the $2.5 billion price tag that apparently it's commanding right now.
From Bob, whenever you guys talk NFL, I just fast forward through the show. I mean, we have certain things. We have also certain sponsors of certain segments, but I understand. I think we've made it pretty clear. We've taken a lot of what we had during the normal 3-hour show when we first started back in April of 2020. Some of that has become additional programming with podcasting. But the college football, we understand. Man, we've enjoyed it. I thought yesterday, I'd drive it home, and I'm thinking, okay, Clay Helton's fired. And I was blown away that we had a student at USC text us or chat room comment on the show. Or it may have been a text.
It was a text.
Along with numerous USC fans who we've heard from some Southern Cal fans, but they really haven't been very vocal during the whatever you want to call it, as far as the expansion of the changes of the alliance and all of that. But yesterday, wham, here comes Southern Cal fans. And who knows what will be in the next day or two or so. So we are paying attention to that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I know Eric Bieniemy is now the hot rumor. You know, you Google his name and all of a sudden there's 50 articles on Eric Bieniemy, apparently the lead candidate, you know, all that BS. But, that's an interesting name. I actually was thinking about his name yesterday. I mean, I think that'd be a long road to hoe, and the odds are very slim, but he is at least a name that is going to, you know, create a little bit of buzz and create a little bit of interest. And I'll still fall back to the main names that were brought up yesterday and have been brought up since. You know, it's Luke Fickell, it's Matt Campbell, it's you know, that class of guys, Chris Peterson, if you can lure him out of, you know, retirement. And, you know, I've seen some other interesting names that have been thrown around, you know, even so far as Mario Cristobal in Oregon. But I'm really intrigued by this USC coaching search and who they are going to target and who they are going to talk to and who ends up being the guy, because he could be the next Pete Carroll, and that flips college football on its head and USC's back and, you know, all that. Or it could be, you know, another guy who's just another guy in a line of other guys where you're doing this again 3-4 years from now. So it's a highly important hire for USC. I think we say that every time a big school opens up. But I think given how they haven't been irrelevant, but how lacking they haven't sniffed a playoff, you know, like, I mean, and that would have been a team in the early 2000s, like that would have been the number one team in the playoff every year. So to not even come close to experiencing that, yeah, it's time. It's time for them to get it back and get it going. And it's all going to come down to who that next head man in charge is.
Well, and I think Mike Bone, as an AD, has kind of shown that he's not one to make a splash for splash sake. I think a lot of USC fans want to see splash. They want to see Bob Stoops or Urban Meyer or somebody like that. And I think, look, if it's Bob Stoops, I think Bob Stoops is, you know, will do a great job there.
I will say he is really seeming to love his alcohol selling that he's got going on, where he's just traveling to like liquor store after liquor store, you know, shopping his vodka brand, and he seems to be having fun, but maybe he's had enough fun and he's willing to get back in.
We had him on the show when he was coaching the XFL team in Dallas, and I asked him would he get back into college coaching, and he said his response was never say never. But if you watch him on TV now doing the Fox noon kickoff, or I remember the first game, that Ohio State-Oklahoma game, where he was up in the booth with the guys wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt, and I thought, well, that's it. That guy's done coaching.
Yeah, he's totally
like, that's it. He's gone done. He's gone full Jimmy Johnson. Like, you can't come back. And that's one of the things people are like, oh, we're going to call Bob Stoops. We've got to have Bob Stoops. You know, FSU went through it a couple of years ago, and USC is doing it. Well, maybe we can get Bob Stoops. And people think, oh, yeah, he's not coaching now. Well, maybe he just wants to be retired. He made a ton of money. It's different now. Coaches came out of retirement before because the money got better from when they retired before. And you're like, well, I'm 58 years old, and this is life-changing money, or 62 years old, and it's life-changing generational wealth I can make in 2 or 3 years. I'm going to do it. Now, if a coach makes $5 million a year on average for 15 years, he doesn't have to work again. He doesn't have to go into a kid's house and convince a 16-year-old kid to come to his school over somebody else. Sometimes it's nice to not do that stuff anymore. Jimmy Johnson works 2 days a week, gets paid probably $3 or $4 million a year by Fox, plus whatever endorsements and things that he can pick up. He's
flown out to the West Coast on the weekend, probably in a private jet whatever.
He's not climbing on a Southwest flight from Fort Lauderdale to Orange County.
He flies Spirit. From Force Alchemist. Luke Fickell said he has no interest in the USC job. The grass isn't always greener in his press conference today. Now, let's say this. I hope you're right. And I hope he means it. Yeah. But you can read the quote. But this is what coaches, again, I'm not trying to stir up Luke Fickell to anywhere or Matt Campbell to anywhere. Those names should be brought up. They're all good. But we've seen way too many times. I'm not taking the job the next day they're being introduced at a school that they said they weren't interested in.
Here's what he said exactly, or one of the exact quotes at least. Look, I don't talk to anybody. I barely talk to my own family during the season, so I would never talk about it, nor would I even answer a phone call or anything like that. I know nothing, nor does it make me have any interest. It's not a big deal. It's nothing but distractions if people allow it to be, and for us, it can't be. And I think that's a perfect way to dismiss it and just be done with it. But I will say, here's the catch. No, he's not talking to anybody. But if there's any talking going on, his agent is talking to people.
Exactly
his
right.
agent is doing all the talking. Of course, Luke Fickell's not talking, and he will not be talking. But best believe, if there is any talk about USC, and if he has any interest, we will never hear about it, and that will be private conversations between he and his agent, who will be pulling all of the strings and having all those conversations behind the scenes. We learned that with Matt Rule, and learned that before that as well. So, it's a good dismissal, but look, in college football, until a guy is basically put concrete around his feet at the 50-yard line and said, I'm not budging, there's always a chance that they could still be on their way out. I'm not trying to worry Cincy fans, but I've just been here, seen this a million times, and so, yeah, he's not talking, but I'm sure his agent is at least answering some phone calls.
All right, when we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, his thoughts about the Texans hammering Jacksonville. Yes, it was Jacksonville, but hell, that's what a lot of people thought about the Texans, but they did win. His thoughts about that, and also thoughts about his insight on the first week of the NFL season. Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Still in Pipe, 1943. It's amazing that they only get better, have survived everything that's ever happened basically since 1943 in that country, including wars, including COVID, including, just think about it. And yet, Pioneer Steel and Pipe is still going strong. Locations Waco and Bryan, open Saturdays from 8 to noon if you can't get there during the week. And if you can't get there and you want product and they know who you are, you've been there before, they don't know you, and it's the first time you've been a customer, they will make sure you get the product delivered to you and unload it for you as well. Metal buildings, metal roofing, pipe and steel, things you build. Product that you build big things with, or maybe it's just something out back. It depends on what size house you are, or maybe you live on a ranch. That's what they do, and they do it as well. They do it better than anybody. And the customer service is amazing. You could say that, but then again, you ask anybody that's shopped at Pioneer Steel and Pipe one time or maybe 50 times. Contractors or more. They understand what they get, and Pioneer Steel and Pipe will treat you like you're the only customer, and that's what matters. 1943, pioneerboys.com.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we go. Weekly with John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle. Start of the year, picked the Texans to be playing in the AFC Championship game, and now he's doubled down and said they'll win it. Opening win against Jacksonville. John McClain, the godfather of Sikkim, by the way, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. John, were you, I know Jacksonville, first year, whatever, rookie quarterback. Were you almost like open mouth, dumbfounded by what you saw?
I wouldn't say dumbfounded, David. The odds makers had the Jaguars favored by 3 in Houston with a rookie quarterback, with a first-time NFL head coach, and they were so discombobulated. You know, Urban Meyer, great college coach, was embarrassed. Their performance reflected poorly on him. He got out-coached by David Culley. They got outplayed by the Texans. Texans ran it. They threw it. They didn't force a turnover. They had 3 interceptions, plus 3 in turnover ratio. Their 3 interceptions of Lawrence was equal their number of all last season. So they played, that's the way they're going to try to play all season. Run the ball, control the clock. They ran 41 times. It didn't have a long game because they have a bunch of plotters. And run it, try to build a lead and run some more. Now they go to Cleveland. Browns are going to be seething after blowing a game at Kansas City. They should have won. Their Texans are 12.5-point underdogs. In fact, the Texans going into the season were underdogs in every single game, including to the Jets here with a rookie quarterback. And so they'll probably come back down to earth against the Browns. I picked them to start 2-1 and then 3-2 before it all goes south.
John, do you think that Urban Meyer will at all be swayed by the USC job and want to maybe pull a Nick Saban and jump back into college?
And I'll tell you what, Paul, if they have many more performances like that, they may allow him to leave because they didn't look good. 2 timeouts in the first quarter, out of timeouts before the first half ended. I mean, they just looked sloppy. Now, people have rumored him to that USC job for a lot, and I think he'd be perfect. You know, if he ever goes back to college coaching, he's not taking – there's only a few jobs. You know, somebody from the Longhorns unofficially reached out to him last year. He said no, he'd retired for health reasons. And in retrospect, it looks like the Jaguars owner, Shad Khan, had already contacted him and offered him the keys to Jacksonville because he's in charge of everything from the pens and the pencils. I don't even know if people use pencils anymore. But if there were a job he's going to take, I think that'd be it. But he's only 57 years old. But for a guy that's retired twice for health reasons, does he want to go for the hat trick? I can't imagine.
So, John, not a bad start to Monday Night Football and Allegiant Stadium for the Raiders, huh?
Yeah, they should have won the game at the end, Craig. They were down on the 1-foot line. Then it looked like they're going to lose, and then Lamar Jackson fumbled, and they scored. So the Raiders should have won it. It was a gallant effort by the Raiders. They had lost their top 3 running backs for the season, one of their top defensive backs, and 3 of them in one practice. I've never seen anything like that, but the Raiders are a great organization, and they're going to win some games. They'll probably win a wild card berth if they don't win the division.
Anything in particular, anybody that the high hopes, obviously injuries sometimes happen, things go on. Anyone in particular that you just thought maybe just blanked the bed in the opening week that shouldn't?
Well, let's look around. Urban Meyer did as a coach. And if we look around the league, some of the bigger upsets, Titans getting annihilated at home by the Cardinals. They did what everybody would like to do, get up on the Titans, takes Derrick Henry out of the game, changes their play action. Ryan Tannehill been out a long time with COVID-19. The Falcons and Matt Ryan and their new coach, Arthur Smith, they fell flat on their faces at home against the Eagles. And then Aaron Rodgers has got more egg on his face than anybody because they just got obliterated by the Saints. And my preseason comeback player of the year over Dak Prescott was Jameis Winston. He looked pretty damn good. Now, you can't base anything on 1 week. This time last year, the Jaguars were 1-0. They just beaten up the Colts. They go to Tennessee, almost beat the Titans, and people were so fired up, and they didn't win another game.
John, on Aaron Rodgers, is that a worry, though, that if they lost a couple more, if they start 1-3 or something like that, that could go way south in a hurry just because of the tension around him and that team?
Paul, you know it. And the reason is, after all that controversy of the offseason, he's talked to just about any media person that'll ask him about it. He's talked about it. What he should say, and I don't know if it's therapist telling him to do it, guys, it's the season. I'm not talking about any of that again during the season, so don't waste your time asking. But the pre-games, the post-games, everybody else. Now, he played a terrible game. Jameis Winston played great. But if they do get off to a slow start, and I don't think they will because they got talent, coaching. They've been to the NFC Championship game the last 2 years, and they got a lot of pride. So does Aaron Rodgers. But if something happens and they start slow, people are going to turn on him, and they're going to start saying, okay, it's time to go ahead and get Jordan Love in there. That's not going to happen, of course, but it wouldn't be a quarterback controversy. But if Rodgers doesn't play great like he's expected to, a lot of people are going to turn on it.
John, what were your thoughts on Matt Stafford and his debut with the Rams?
He was my preseason dark horse for the MVP. Because you knew Sean McVay, because of what he gave up to get him, was going to utilize him in the best way. He doesn't have a running game, didn't have one in Detroit. He's got a lot of pressure on him to make the playoffs. Rams were a wild card last year. They won in Seattle in the first round. And now a lot of people like me are picking them to win the division. And I think Matthew Stafford's going to have a great year and a fun year for him.
Yeah, John, the games that they had, that they saw, the highlighted games, Cowboys and Bucks on Thursday, massive audience. Last night, massive audience. It's amazing that despite the off year and some of the things in turmoil with the NFL, is it as popular now than as ever before?
Remember when the movie Concussion came out a few years ago and all these people were predicting the doom of the NFL? Parents wouldn't let the kids play football anymore. And that hadn't happened because it's a great game. You know, we all love it. They overcome controversies. They overcome some bad games, some bad people. But at the root of everything, it is a great game, whether it's at the collegiate level or the pro level. And one of the reasons I love covering the NFL because there's nothing like it as far as popularity. You know, the Astros know here. The Astros are 25 games over 500. They just, what did they do to the Rangers? Smashed them, obliterated them. You can't pick a stronger adjective. And all anybody's talking about here are the Texans and the Jaguars and the Texans and the Browns. And it's a privilege to cover the NFL and to talk about the NFL. When I left the Waco Tribune-Herald in 1976 to come to the Chronicle to cover the original Houston Aeros with Gordie Howe and his sons, Mark and Marty, I didn't know squat about hockey, took a crash course at the Waco Public Library, and still didn't know squat when I got here. And I never thought for a minute, a year later, I'd be at my first Oilers training camp. But this long ride, it's exciting. It's like a roller coaster that never lets up.
John, your thoughts on Josh Gordon and his possible reinstatement again?
Truthfully, Paul, I don't keep up with that. You know how many times that's happened? I wish the kid could come back and get his act together and not have all these off-the-field issues because he's such a wasted talent.
Agreed. That's basically what we said earlier. I said, John, like I've heard this same story like 11 times now, I feel like. I mean, it's almost a yearly thing at this point. So last week with the Cowboys and Bucks, they got massive TV ratings, but it was also an incredible game, and Brady with some Brady magic there towards the end. John, what did you see? I mean, we know the Bucks are defending Super Bowl champs. What did you see from Dallas in that showing?
That Dak Prescott, people could breathe a sigh of relief. No problems with his ankle, but that shoulder injury, if we watched Hard Knocks, especially the first week, you know, until he got out there and did it, took some shots, people were going to worry about it. Now they got problems with their offensive line. Seems like they always got problems with their offensive line where they have so much money invested. But those skill position players, wow. Now, Zeke Elliott's got to get his act together, and they got to have the kind of running game, you know, they can have. I still pick them to win the NFC East as I did before the season. With Ryan Fitzpatrick going down, that will help them. But I never thought the Washington was a playoff team after winning the division with a 7-9 record last season. I think the Cowboys will win it. I think they'll run away with it.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Sikkim.
There he is, the godfather of Sikkim, John McClain, also Hall of Fame writer on the Texans, the NFL opening week. It's so many nuggets in his head. It's amazing. When we come back, we'll have Paul Catalina's top 5 here momentarily.
I need a coach to get fired right now. That Clay Helton thing juiced me up yesterday, man. It was out of nowhere, and it's like, boom, here's this big news. And like today, there's no breaking news, and it's just kind of like it's like the come down. But that was fun. Yeah, no, it was, and I was thrilled with the reaction we received. I really was. I was just thrilled that of those who called and text and whatever, even overnight. As I always say, that text line, the 254-339-1122, some nights not as easy as others, but questions you might have and a couple of nuggets you send our way as well. We appreciate that. In fact, the Kansas AD and what he was talking about the future, that's where I got that from. I didn't follow up on Mac Rhodes with this, but I was curious. He said he didn't hear the comments. Well, the comments were pretty apparent, like, hey, yeah, we're in the Big 12 for now, but like we're always going to be looking, is basically the gist of what he said. And to me, that would be concerning on a variety of levels. So especially with a new guy. I mean, that's the thing. It's a newer person there at Kansas. It's not, Jeff Long still hanging around anymore. So something to be mindful of, certainly. The trust all seems great, and it took less than an hour after the announcements, or even before the announcements were made, for somebody to go, "Oh no, it's totally still unstable," because we're still looking. Yeah. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I love what he said, the way he answered it. One, he did not actually see the quote from the AD at Kansas, but I did. And thanks for somebody for sharing that with me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have seen it. And it was more than, hey, we're still going to look out for ourselves. And I just think the timing of that was nothing wrong with the guy. I mean, he's new.
I got it.
I understand what he's also appeasing his fan base, just like what Kirby Hocutt has done when we mentioned him on Friday, among others. But there also was one story, again, that I don't even want to bring up, about a couple of teams in another conference. And that's just a Clicks and Views masterpiece. Hey, let's get some attention here. And it was shot to hell, by the way.
Think about how often you hear a story come out, and then you have a school's AD just go yeah, that's total bunk. That's not true at all, or whatever. That does not happen on the regular, or hardly ever. So for that just to be so casually mentioned by him, yeah, that's totally not a thing. I think says and speaks volumes. And I think, too, with Kansas, I think they're one of those fan bases I'm very curious about, because I don't sense them as somebody who's really celebrating the Big 12 surviving. I think they have a lot of people, based on just what I've read, who are so keen on this Big 10 idea still that, the teams were brought in, and I think schools like Baylor were like, hell yeah, man, that's what we needed. But still seems, at least Kansas for sure, and I don't think Oklahoma State's really been this way, or Tech, but they I don't know. I could see them continuing to pursue that Big Ten spot.
Maybe just the idea of it. This would be great. And
all that money and everything else, yeah.
All right, and some of you are discussing, again, Luke Fickell, among others, and a lot of you are Cincinnati fans saying that he's made that comment, and he did, and we'll see how that goes out.
Hey, Cincy fans, I hope you're right. Yeah. I hope he stays there. I want to see Luke Fickell on the sidelines of McLean Stadium in a few years, and I want to see him on the sidelines at your place in a few years while I'm eating Skyline Chili or whatever. But, I hope you're right. I mean, who the heck knows with coaching circles and searches and how all of that works. But the one, and this didn't make me feel any better as somebody who was covering Matt Rule. People will tell you, no, but you should be happy that the guy is so wanted. And it's that's true to an extent, but it's really more annoying than it is anything else.
How many times has Baylor, other than Grant Tapp, Art Briles, and Matt Rule, had a coach that somebody else wanted?
And Kim Mulkey.
And Kim Mulkey, obviously. But how many?
Kim, for a long time, no. I mean, it wasn't even brought up. Where else she was going to go,
Yeah. But so it's a compliment. At the same time, it's uneasy. And that's why when you are one of those.
Yes, I was going to say.
When you are one of those, even if you don't act like one anymore, if your wins and losses and championships don't equal who you are, you don't have to worry about that. The Texas does not have to worry about USC's job opening up.
Right.
Even if they have been through 10 or 11 years of just what? When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio. Well, I tell you what, Marco's Pizza, Bob Mock, I saw him at the game. He works as a volunteer in certain things. I guess I don't know what he's doing there, but he does some things at McLean Stadium on game days. Does a great job with that. And I asked him, he went on a cruise. And, man, he had a great time. And, man, he had earned it as well. He loves the pizza business, but he did have a chance to get away on a cruise. He is the owner of locations in the Waco area of Marco's Pizza, Bellmead, China Spring, Woodway, and opening very soon in Robinson as well. Pizza with made from scratch, the dough, Italian family sauce recipe that's never changed, and loads of toppings that you want, including Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage. Every time I order an all-meat pizza from Marco's, flat, I like the thin crust, brought to here, I always have one of them if we get 2 or 3, that has extra Italian sausage. I love it, savory, a little spice to it as well. Veggies that are fresh. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. You can order online to whatever location you want to bring to you. And Marco's Pizza, it's great because pizza lovers get it.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screen stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include showers, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with zero payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
One more time before the end of the show, rest in peace to Norm Macdonald, one of the greatest who will ever do it. And sports-related, if you want to watch some good Norm sports-related comedy, he had a sports show on Comedy Central that I'm sure you can find on YouTube, and which is really funny. And he hosted the ESPYs, I think the second year of the ESPYs, and was great.
Yeah, when I tell you, I was literally watching Norm videos like a week ago. Yeah. I mean, just totally like an hour's worth of just him and Jerry Seinfeld, him and his show, and all this stuff, and that's just wild to me. But a lot of people pass, and we all pay our respects or whatever. But this one really does hurt. I mean, I love Norm Macdonald, so it's a sad day.
Yeah. All right, top 5 fits for USC. These are the best fits, in my opinion, for USC. Number 5, Bill O'Brien at Alabama in the Nick Saban coach rehabilitation program. And look, he's someone who runs a good offense for college. He had some NFL pedigree. He's probably better suited as a college coach. I'm not sure if he can recruit Southern California, but I think he could. And kids want to get to the NFL. He was in the NFL for a long time, so why not Bill O'Brien?
My first reaction is the guy's been everywhere. He's done a pretty good job at certain places. He's going to get the kick start from the Saban time. But I think they need something fresh.
Yeah.
But I can see why they would absolutely, or any college team, if he's interested, that would want to talk to him.
Okay, if they're in the mood for something fresh, number 4, Tony Elliott, offensive coordinator at Clemson. Now, he's not been a head coach before, and that might be the deal breaker for Tony Elliott at SC, but he's been doing it at one of the best programs for a few years now. His offense is fun. His offense is wide open. I think...
You know what's interesting about guys like that, and you have what
you
else?
Can recruit quarterbacks.
You have the defensive coordinator there, Venables, as well. Those guys, it's a timing thing, right? Mm-hmm. A year or two ago, they could have gotten pretty much any job in America. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Clemson's still good. They got beat up a little bit, even though they lost by just, 7 points, whatever, 10-3 or whatever it was. But there's a timing thing there. And you could, if you're not careful, in a year or two, you could actually just be like anyone else.
Yeah, going back to Bill O'Brien, I think that would be like the safe kind of vanilla choice, and that's why it wouldn't be like fun or super exciting. I mean, he would probably do well there, but, does another NFL team come calling one day and he feels compelled to go back? There would be questions there as far as that goes. So I would be a little uneasy about, investing, because I think this next guy, you got to be so invested that he's not only going to be your head coach and be good, but he's going to be there for a while. So I don't know if you'd have that with Bill O'Brien necessarily. Tony Elliott, I mean, he's going to be commanding the sideline sooner rather than later. I've seen some USC posts and whatnot that are very intrigued by the idea of Tony Elliott. Maybe the fact that there is some unknown there would make them hesitant perhaps because they do want more of a sure thing. But if you're going, like you said, for like the fresh coat of paint and somebody new, somebody that's not the same names we always hear, then absolutely, Tony, I'm sure he will get a conversation or many with USC if he wants.
Yeah, number 3 would be James Franklin because the fans obviously want him bad. I mean, really, a lot of them do. I mean, a lot of fans really like James Franklin. I think he's a fit at USC, and maybe he is. I think he's a great coach. He's done a great job at Penn State. It's interesting that 2 guys on this list are Penn State coaches. Bill O'Brien was the Penn State coach, and now it's James Franklin. But that's who the fans seem to want.
Yeah, he's and we still don't know the connection other than the fact he's a hell of a coach.
That's all there is, apparently. It's just that it's a big gig. It's one of like the top 2, 3, 5 jobs in the country.
He's a younger guy.
And he's a bit younger in comparison to like the Sabans and those guys, and he's a proven winner. So, and there's been some back and forth with him in Penn State over the years that have allowed that door to be open as a possibility. So, I'm sure James Franklin will be involved somehow or another, just because it just seems destined to kind of be, not that he gets the job, but that he's at least in conversation with them. So, no doubt he's near the top of the list.
Number 2. Go old school, Bob Stoops. And Bob Stoops is not an older guy. I mean, really, as retired coaches go, but he is someone who I think would do an immediately good job there. He's an excellent coach. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to recruit. Would he win a national title there? I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's hard to do that.
He only won in
Oklahoma. But if you want a splash hire who will do a good job, now, will he win national titles? I don't know, but he would get that program back where it needed to be and possibly hire them the next Lincoln Riley. Maybe that's what you do. Bob Stoops coaches there for 5 to 7 years, and you let him, restart your program top to bottom, and then the guy who is the next guy who's really going to be the one, like Lincoln Riley. It's not Lincoln Riley, but who the next Lincoln Riley is.
Is he Hollywood enough?
Oh yeah. Oh, I think so.
Bob, he's funnier than you probably think he is.
I think so.
I think he could handle that fine. I mean, he's been around the media long enough now. He knows the deal. My only question with him is if he has the desire to, Obviously, he wanted to coach football enough to take an XFL gig, which was just that whole thing was a failure. The league, that is. But, if he's got an itch, I mean, absolutely, I'm sure he would line up to be the head coach at Southern Cal. I mean, it's not any different pressure than Oklahoma when he first arrived there. Now, granted, he's 61 as opposed to being like, early 40s probably when he took over at Oklahoma, about there. So, yeah, I mean, it all comes down to his desire, but he's somebody you got to talk to if he's interested.
But again, I think he might have gone. I suspect he might have gone full Jimmy.
He very well could have. Yeah.
So if he goes, full,
I would not be surprised if he has.
There's no coming back from full Jimmy Johnson. I mean, that's what you are.
I mean, he's got a lot of money, 61 years old, and I wouldn't be surprised.
And number one, and I say this knowing full well that there might be piles of chili and spaghetti on my porch, but Luke Fickell,
chili spaghetti.
Yeah, it's just going to be all over the place. But Luke Fickell knows Mike Bone. Mike Bone knows Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell's done a really good job at Cincinnati. It's a great fit. If that's the way they want to go, Luke Fickell's probably going to be a great coach wherever he is. He's on the rise. He's young. He's interesting. He's different. I think that's a great fit. Now, I want him to stay at Cincinnati, but it's hard to deny the fit for Luke Fickell at USC.
Yeah, hope he stays at Cincy. Hope we get to see him in the Big 12, but that's a long waiting game. That's years from now. Although we know it's happening, he's got to be the top, if not one of the top, if not the top choices. So yeah.
On the chat room for all of you Cincy fans, after Paul's top 5, text me and I'll give you his cell phone number, email, and mailing address. But it's a compliment that he brought him up as the number 1 guy. And of course, Ohio State might be on his radar, but that looks like, although Ryan Day. After last week, he's fine. He's fine. We know he's fine. And I know what he said about what he wants to do at Cincinnati, and the grass is not always greener, whatever else. All right. Thanks to Jack McKenzie. Thanks to Armstrong Sims as well. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. Thanks to all of our amazing sponsors from start to finish. You who listen, who watch, who do both. Chat room, text line, call us, and more. Right back at it tomorrow again at 3 o'clock. We've got a couple more colleges we'll focus in on, and we appreciate the suggestions of others. One of the questions in the chat room, Joe Brady, we brought him up earlier in the show today as a possibility as well. I'm David Smoak. Thank you. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.